Hey guys, Kyle can coming at you from Days of Future Past with Brennan Fraser here, and I'm just here to say that this was recorded last week. I'll get the exact date right here, and so this is before the ban list even came out. So this is all predictions still before the ban list came out. We do have a post ban list video coming out next week, so stay tuned for that. It's with Peter Catani. But enjoy the show, and Brendan Fraser, you got anything to say?
What are you doing this Sunday?
Go on.
We should compare man boobs and see who has the biggest man boobs or the most prominent ones. I'm voting Josh on this one.
I don't know, man. I can take that.
This is kind of
I don't want to compete, but I think I'd win.
I got some. I recently shaved my chest. They look even bigger.
I don't grow chest hair.
You're
so-
lucky, because
I
I
just
literally have to fucking laser my back all the time, and now I'm gonna try to shave my chest. See if.
Oh
get a
yeah,
little-
you're lasering your back, man.
Oh
So
yeah,
you
I've been
got-
doing it forever.
Right here, you have configure video. Like you right click on the camera, go to configure video. You're gonna get a little pop up.
Did you ever wax your whole back?
Yeah.
That was the first time I ever try to get rid of hair on my back was what I got.
You get this little properties.
I
control.
got some of my friends in high school. Some girls like, oh yeah, we'll wax your back, whatever. Fucking
and then you can do
mistake.
shit like this.
So
oh yeah, I know.
Why
so-
though?
Did you
Hold on.
remember the first time you had ghost bumps on your back?
oh yeah, no, this is the problem. No. This is perfect that I'm recording right now. The best part about this is that it was those fucking ones that are pre-sticky wax, like fucking dispose. So dog shit, absolute dog shit.
The one you
Yeah,
need
the ones you
pre-heat?
warm up and you put on. Yeah. So what happened was that they didn't work too well. So like, oh, you know what? We'll just use the Nair now. So they did half my back and then use Nair on top of it, which I didn't know at the time. I'm a fucking 16-year-old kid. That Nair also takes off a layer of skin as well as waxing. I literally had like chemical burns on my fucking back. And I went into the shower. Literally, my back was bubbling. It was bubbling. I'm just like, what the fuck? After that in high school, because I was like, I wrestled all of high school. I'm just like, I don't want fucking back hair in this singlet. That looks fucking. I look like I'm on juice at 16 like this. So started just doing Nair by itself, and it sting for a little bit, but you were good. And then after that, I bought a laser machine that barely does anything, but I think in my head that it does something. So that's where you win, right?
Yeah. Like one joke that I usually do is that like sometimes my girlfriend says, why don't you go like just in chest, like outside, even if you're out of house and everything. I said, like, you know what's gonna happen? They're gonna call the wildlife. I'm gonna get a fucking sleeper dart and gonna release me into the wild.
Fucking tag.
My wife was actually like, please don't shave your chest. Let your hair grow out. She
I
likes
trim-
it.
Yeah.
So,
I trim every so often.
Well, for
I
real,
just-
like
it just looks
I
weird,
have
it-
a lot, but like this
just
air
goes here.
chest.
Have
have you ever seen Umbrella Academy?
This doesn't. I don't complain about that, but the back.
The
oh, man,
back's the worst. Back, it's
the
you
back-
have to go against the wall sometimes like a fucking bear just to hit shit. You just like look like a fucking
Oh
maniac.
yeah.
Oh yeah,
Like,
that's
I was at like some water park like a few years ago, and I was waiting in line just like casually. And one thing I know is like I feel a rubbing in my back. So I was like, what the fuck? Just turned back and just realized it's a 2-year-old kid, little girl. Like you cannot be mad against it, but like she kept saying it to his mom, but I want to cuddle it. I want to cuddle.
shut the fuck up. Actually,
I was like, oh god damn it, but yeah,
I don't.
oh, that's awesome.
almost purr.
Okay, you'd go straight to fucking prison. That's
Yeah, I'm like, that got dark pretty quick.
I don't know for real.
oh my god. So, is there any official date for this ban list, or is this we're also
Nope.
predicting that as well too, even if it does or does not happen?
It's gonna come out 2 weeks prior to pre-release.
So it's honestly really, really weird because normally, like we had a delay. We had a delay for this set. Actually, 1 or 2 delays for this set. I can't remember how many. And
2.
yeah, it's like normally, yeah, we do get them like a week or two like before the set, but this whole stint is weird. Like nothing's on schedule. This is the longest kind of dry spell we've had of like just anything for a while. And so it's odd. Like if they hold off until the normal time, I wouldn't be surprised. But at the same time, with how many people are constantly every single day, like you don't even get to post anything on the main page anymore without somebody like they're like, here's the TP cards, and somebody's like, can we get that TP ban list? And so I feel like the pressure is definitely on for them to release it. So it wouldn't surprise me if they released it sometime this month. It wouldn't surprise me at all.
But that makes me think about that. Maybe since they changed the ruling because of BO1, maybe they won't do anything.
Carl, you
Just
see,
see-
Carl, you're stealing the
no.
thunder. This is awesome talk. Here, we'll wait till we get fucking Alejandro's camera, and then I'll do the intro, and we'll go right into it right off the bat, because I know we can go on this for fucking time, because we were having this in my Twitch chat today too. No guy, everyone ready to rock and roll? Okay, welcome guys. What are you shaking your head? No, I was about to start. You're shaking your head no, but welcome guys to Team Berserk Talk number 27. And yes, I can remember the numbers this time, but we have a very special guest here, Uni X DBS, and we're going to be talking about the ban list. Is it coming? Is it not coming? What's going to be on it? What do we want on it? And how's this whole pre-sighting thing going to affect that? So, you know what? Since you're our guest here, take it away. What I know right before this, you already had some thoughts, so let's get this ball rolling. This is going to be probably just a one big discussion for 10 hours. That's what I feel anytime we talk about anything ban list related.
All right. Well, I'm going to say it right off the bat. I don't got that 10-hour stamina because I got work tomorrow at like 9 a.m. I got like a 50 minute commute, and I got to make videos for my card game channel and my video gaming channel, and the grind just don't stop. It just really don't here. So, but thoughts as of this stuff. This is a really juicy topic for both the ban list as well as the best of one siding. And shameless plug, I made a video about the ban list yesterday, and I made a video about best of one siding this morning. So they're both live on the channel. It is what it is. Which topic?
What channel is that?
It's this. Am I pointing? I think I'm pointing to it right now. It's the Uni X DBS for Dragon Ball Super. It stands for Universe X Dragon Ball Super, and that's what it be. But which one do we talk about first? I can lead off hard, but I need to know which one we're talking about first, because those are kind of different conversations.
We'll go actual ban list, like just anything with that pre-sighting. I feel it's gonna get tacked in between, but yeah, just go full out ban list. When do you think it's dropping, and what do you want, or what do you think people want? Because I know a lot of that could be completely different, right?
All right, so I guess if I'm gonna go into fairy tale land, as in like exactly what I want, I hope that this ban list is dropped mid-February. Like mid-February would be perfect, because then you have almost a full month before these events happen to test. Because I'm gonna be completely real with you. When we got full spoilers for the set, I went through and did videos for every archetype except Swap Deborah, because that's cheeks and you can't convince me otherwise. And I'm not saying like other archetypes aren't cheeks. I'm saying like, bro, like we've had Swap since early sets, and Swap has been energy based. Swap has been in some cases horrendously free, and then you get Swap that requires cards in hand and spirit boost. I'm just like, absolutely not. So I just didn't even go into a video about Deborah. But the point for me is, as cool as some of these things are, they mean almost nothing if yellow is not meaningfully trimmed. And I don't say this as a person that's just like, oh, well, you know, I'm just looking at stuff and Herder, yellow's the boogeyman. No, I mean, like, I've gone in and I've tested some of this stuff. Grand Priest, you can't close out a game with Grand Priest, so I'm going to discard that. Deborah, I just talked about Deborah. Champa and Beerus have some very, very nice SRs that fit into, like, green as a whole, but they're not going to carry green back into the meta spotlight. So you're really looking at red, blue, black, and yellow. And when it comes to those, blue has no strong leaders that do as many things as Soul Striker. So really you're just looking at blue assets that can be absorbed into Soul Striker. And Soul Striker currently is getting edged out by Icarus in the mid game as it stands already. As it stands. Anywho, then you've got black. And when I tell you against full power Icarus, like I was just testing out the Trunks deck, and Gogeta Zeno can do some better aggro, but even testing out the Trunks deck, there were turns like 3, 4, and 5 where I lined up anywhere from 9 to 11 tacks. If he couldn't clear the Trunks, it was just like even more. And for a yellow deck to straight up say no, hold 3 life when I was swinging 9 times, 11 times, and then like 9 times again, that's absurd. Like that's a crazy amount of defense, and he wasn't even done. Like he only went through 2 riposte, a steadfast, and all 4 power to Super Saiyans. And he did use a Goku Black Kamehameha. But the point is, like, if yellow doesn't change, the output of these decks is almost irrelevant. I really have been liking a mid-rangey red like UI Goku, but if a deck like Trunks could not break through that many turns, I don't think a deck that bursts itself can make it to turn 7 without being in danger of decking out versus yellow, even with how strong the deck can be. So when it comes to this ban list, I don't even test right now because I feel like there's almost no real reason to fully test. Like understanding concepts, good. Testing when half these decks don't matter if yellow is still yellow, bad. So I would hope February to answer that question. I would really hope February because that gives us time to actually get used to the beginnings of this format before we go into a new thing. Now on a much shorter note, what I'm really hoping comes on this ban list for blue, I'm not going to front, Senzu Bean, I would love that to get eroded to blue leader only. I think, like, spoke about it in the video I made, I think a lot of these colors kind of need some of their best points rain back into the color to draw people more to it. Like, Senzu Bean can be splashed in plenty of decks, but blue has consistently had issues with finishers because Bandai understands that in a color that can untap as much as it is, a 4-drop in blue isn't the same amount of risk and reward as a 4-drop in any other color. A 4-drop in blue is just another card that you play and you know you're going to untap and keep going. So all these bombs are like 7 costed and crap. And so, yeah, blue doesn't have good finishers. But, you know, if you can have a yellow or red deck with the proper cards and then just shove Senzu Bean and some splashes in there, why not? So I think Senzu Bean needs to be a blue leader only card in order to really help blue feel like its own wheel of power again. For red,
what do you think about D Magic then for blue?
I mean, D Magic is powerful, and I mean, it can be reading in this. See, it can't. I mean, don't the sparking like negates need the color regardless, like the color leader?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, that I can guarantee that because I specifically had to put in Whis coercions in the older version of a Vegito deck I made, just so I could restand with a negate because it's locked. Each one of those sparkings are locked to whatever leader, but I don't think it specifies mono. So surge leaders are a different story.
So in regards to the Senzu Bean thought, though, I feel like once you get to high competitive, like Nats, for example, you saw a ton of blue, yellow, and green blue variants of like Gotenks and Kid Icarus, but they were all edged out in the end by the monocolors. So I feel like while Senzu Bean does add a lot of utility to dual color strategies, once it gets down to the top tier, it still ends up not being as good as like the mono yellow equivalent.
So I can definitely get that. I kind of feel like as a counter serve, that's a bit of a product of the format, not necessarily the card. Because at one point, you would splash blue specifically for Whis Coercion and Senzu Bean, like just straight up for those couple cards. And then you got a long stretch of time where you'd still pretty much just splash for Senzu Bean, maybe a couple other assets. Nowadays, yes, monocolors are very much so more fluid, but that's because they've been pushing monocolor for the most part. But I also think that nowadays, because monocolor is so cookie cutter with so many of these archetypes, to build something that's multicolor, you need so much more testing because of the ratios involved. And that doesn't necessarily happen overnight. And we got like a new set out right before Nationals. And for like blue yellow, for instance, one of the biggest draws to blue yellow right now, as whether you're going from either side of it, is lightning fast like SS2 Kefla. But because she's so blue hungry, if you're playing yellow, you have to be really worried about how you construct your deck to play it. And Rios brought that up in the stream here. Like, that's a deck that he took out and he edged out all of his Icarus matchups as a blue-yellow Icarus deck. But he spoke about how hard it is to not only pilot the deck because of the charges, but also just build the ratios you need. And that's not something that can happen at the beginning of a format, like when a new set drops, because you're still figuring everything out. Now people are making the counter adjustments to the counter adjustments. You know, people are striving to be the best to out slug in these yellow versus yellow matches, and they're just kind of continuing with the evolution. I just feel like in the future, you run the risk of Sensu Bean becoming a problem again, because it just automatically elevates the ceiling for certain decks. Like when I was building U7 Gohan before Gen Con, originally it was blue-yellow. And the only reason why I didn't stay blue-yellow was because, one, the multicolored cards didn't really fit in an aggressive strategy. Cooler was cool and all, but like there were a lot of not good options for me to try to shoehorn into the deck. But the other thing is these archetypes are so freaking thick that fitting the splash and blue and the multicolored cards made it almost impossible to side with that deck. And that hurt it so badly. But in the future, we might get another deck that has so much gas, but like just imagine if other colors are as generic as yellow, then they start automatically having the space to run Sensu Bean. And in a deck where you're filtering multiple cards per turn like Gohan, except with a smaller core, Sensu Bean can just kind of get out of hand. You're going to see it consistently. You're going to be able to extend your aggressive plays. And so it's like kind of twofold. I want these, I from a design standpoint, I don't want future problems to happen because we're not monitoring certain cards that have consistently been cornerstones of powerful plays. But also, I want there to be a reason to play in your color. Like, one of my other suggestions was that Champa be restricted to a red leader. Like, one, I kind of hate Champa in Isekai. And the reason why I hate it is because I actually don't find Champa and Isekai to be skillful. In this game, in a game with energy, in a game with like combos like we have it, you get rewarded for understanding what your opponent can do with each piece of energy they have, with with the cards they've searched, things like that. And Champa, any one energy can represent Champa, but it effectively makes 2 life 1 life. So you're essentially playing from 8 life, but the moment you get to 3, you're essentially like on your last leg. One attack gets through, any attack can be game. And that mostly just leads to leader shotguns that you can't really do anything with because the game doesn't interact with leaders that well. In Yellow's case, it's almost game. The moment they turn sideways with a leader and you're at 2 life and you just look at the hand, look at the energy, and you see 4 energy open, like, scoop it up. Like, you're about to get cooler and then chomped, and then their entire hand is put on their leader. And I really feel like it's not exactly the most skillful play. You're just kind of robbing yourself out of your last 2 life the moment you hit 2. But if you made Champa and Isekai red cards only, or you got rid of them and you made a new one that was a red leader only, that would mean that you only have to, like, red, which is already an aggressive color in general, would be the only color where you have to be like, this is a danger zone. Red as a color is the only deck that can take me down out of nowhere. Like, they swing, I have to negate or not negate, and then they can choose to apply the Champa. I feel like that would bring more power back to red, which is a color that has been kind of floundering right now in the upper status of the meta. When it comes to green, lots of people have been talking about Ribrianne. That's not new. And Ribrianne being limited to a green leader. Even though Ribrianne could probably cause some problems, hand destruction isn't not powerful. Hand destruction is just, outside of a few good cards, it's archetype locked. And none of these archetypes work together. So for me, I kind of want to take certain things back to basics. Like I said, Sensu being back in blue kind of makes it just good. I want Soul Striker gone, but not yet. I was looking around, and Soul Striker is the best blue deck, and it's not even dominating the meta. So if you kill Soul Striker right now, yellow almost falls to red tier. Like, in terms of...
I want to bounce off. Oh, Josh, go ahead.
I'm just saying, SS4, in my opinion, is relevant. Android 16 just keeps on topping. Actually, 16 and 21 are both very. I understand they're multicolored, but they are blue leaders. That's all.
Yeah.
They're blue leaders that are consistently topping. That's the only argument that I have.
I do want to bounce off a couple of ideas just because the fact that you said let's limit Sensubin to only blue hurt my feelings because I know that will kill my SS4 Bardock deck. That's the only way you can really extend plays when you're at 4 energy and be efficient. I would suggest, because we already have cards similar to Sensubin, they just don't on tap, right? Meki Kabura, for example. It has the one card, it's a 5k to your leader, and a lot of people that actually played that deck competitive barely play that card or play like 1 or 2. So it's not the 5k the problem, it's the untapping.
Mhm.
So the suggestion would be split the text of Sensubin to say your leader gets 5k if you do Sensubin, and limit 1, restand 1 of your energies. I think that would be a better way to balance it out and not shaft some other decks that kind of need that manipulation to be on the level of some other decks.
The only thing with Sensubin is that I like the 2 cards that you brought up because they are brought up almost every time that we talk about a ban list, being Champa and Sensubin. 2 cards that have been in this game since the very fucking beginning. It's literally, they've been in here forever. Champa, one of the suggestions that were brought up in an earlier team talk was limiting it to battle cards only, so it's a lot more interactable. That is another way that you could severely nerf the card. Because, like you said, almost all the time, Champa is last to life. They're going to shotgun with their leader. And if you're not negating, I'm in my head right now, the only way to prevent that, obviously, instead of comboing out, is if you're a black leader and you're brainwashing. That is the only option. You still need an energy for that. But at least if it's on a battle card, if you're yellow, which they got Vegeta's Final Flash, whatever, you got all this other
energy
stuff.
for that.
That's what I'm saying. You have to use energy, but that's other things you have. Sensubin, yeah, that's another one. I don't know about locking it to blue, but that's a card that forever they've always, the blue hate cards. Sure, there was Unyielding Trunks. They got rid of it. They're like, yeah, having energy for free, that kind of lets Storm go nuts. But Sensubin has always been there where it's just like, do we just print another card to try to fuck Sensubin over, or what are we doing here? So that, I don't know, that's something that I don't really have the answer for, but that does make sense with the SS4 deck, where that is really true. That deck kind of relies on Sensubin.
Well, the thing too is, from a business standpoint, I don't think any card that was printed in Mythic Booster, which is designed for new players, will get errated or changed in a way to where it's going to make it more confusing for those new players. So I feel like anything that was printed in there is pretty safe on this list, personally.
Depends.
But with that same logic, that's why I also think it's pretty much spelled out that Power of a Super Saiyan is getting hit, because of all of the cards being reprinted for the Fest events. Pretty much all the main yellow staples are being reprinted except for Power of a Super Saiyan. So I don't know. I think when you look at what they're printing, before they reveal the ban list, kind of gives you an indication of what you might see on the ban list.
Okay. I will kind of it's kind of weird. I'm trying to word this as not incriminating as possible, but it's not the same. I'm trying not to get myself in trouble.
This is the place to do it.
Everyone gets in trouble here.
Working on the ban list and product management. You can see how, like, biggest example, we got Bergamo and Piccolo turned into winner stamps because they were staple cards for their respective colors. And by the time they were available to be won, the ban list had put them both at 1. What I'm trying to say is that they're not, they may or may not be the same teams. So
Like when they hit Dark Broly and made the second reprint.
So it's just kind of like, that is.
I guess I assume they learned from their lessons.
Oh,
But
well, I
maybe
mean,
not.
it's just.
According to one, oh, thank you for letting us know. So,
I mean, it's just more like the bans are made from a standpoint of actual, like, survey, like tournament results, things like that. And then the sets are for the most part made from, you know, popularity and, you know, just kind of profit. And Mythic Booster was a wonderful step. It's just kind of like, I don't know. I guess the only reason why I have such a weird hard stance for Sensubin is because it's not a matter of if the card can be a problem, it's a matter of when. It waxes and wanes, but it's done the same thing from the beginning. Like, you look at Sensubin and you were like, oh, this keeps me alive. And then one dude was like, or I can play this 1-drop Kava, sling with it, Sensu on my leader, and then swing with my leader, and then Champa it. I still have energy left open for these 2 Whis' Coercions in my hands. And then it evolves and you have Storm going off. And then it just depends on where you're at. But anytime a deck can abuse Sensubin, it's bad. It's like really bad. Like, every time a deck abuses Sensubin, you literally look at the table and you're like, why is this card still illegal? But anytime Sensubin is just a good card, you're like, this card needs to be in the game. And I definitely agree it needs to be in the game. I just have, like, planned since the beginning. I did have a break between set 6 and I stopped at set 6, I came back in set 11, so I missed all of the multicolor format. But I am kind of tired of extrapolating. Like, I like people being able to build decks the way they want to build them, but the way current R&D is, until something about R&D changes for this game, I don't trust them to make all the colors equal. And while they're not making all the colors equal, it's just far too easy right now for people to pick and choose the good parts of a color and leave the rest of the color behind. Like, we have a meta where you are looking at essentially 3 colors doing things, and then the other 2 colors really just being what would be considered rogue, one of them being almost unplayable, almost. And that's kind of sad. Like, and all I would like to do is bring reasons to actually use colors again. Like, Champa being a red card only, I would highly consider red. Like, look, bring New Ruler up to 3. That's gonna sound really weird. So, like, you're saying this, but yellow can handle it right now.
Oh, I know, but any other deck, it's just like, oh god.
I think blue
Let's pack.
blue is weird. Blue is so weird. Like, if you go first and catch blue on the turn 3, or your turn 3, their 2 energy where they can't hatch, blue is like fighting for their life, R. Kelly style.
Oh, 100%.
But then
100%.
but after you get to that, they stabilize. Like, you know, blue feels like blue. But it's kind of weird because I'm just trying to figure out how you make these colors. Like, they all have clear identities, but some of them are currently getting overshadowed. Like, black has always been the run it and gun it, easy come, easy go pressure. You play a card, it does crazy things, but you can't keep it. But now we're at a point where, you know, black is fusing, black is doing this, black is doing that, and black plays red's game better than red. Black plays red's game while being more efficient with his energy. And now you just have red sitting in a space where it can't do anything. Like New Ruler can go up to 3 right now. Is anybody necessarily going to pick up a red deck over Gogeta Zeno as it stands right now? Like, unhindered, like, if it doesn't get touched. You're still looking at a card where you have to play a Unison, have it at a certain amount of markers, and then play your New Ruler. Versus Gogeta Zeno just doing what Gogeta Zeno does organically. So it's kind of weird because, like, red, between pulling Chomp in maybe switching some things around the ban list, you can maybe kind of give people reasons to play it again. But it's just this ban list is going to be crucial. Like, it's unfortunate, but testing. Me and a couple other friends are testing decks without Power of a Super Saiyan. Testing decks without Bergamo. And they are still messing up lives. They are still... Black Kamehameha is an absolute spit in the face to, like, balance. Like, they could ban Power of a Super Saiyan right now. Black Kamehameha is disgusting. I'm not sure if anybody has heard me rant about Turles, but I think Turles should have never been created. I think Turles is a very not healthy card for yellow, because yellow tapping down everything is cool. That's always been their identity, but the one stopping point of yellow has always been, I've been tapping down cards for 3 turns straight. I no longer have a Floodgate or a Nimbus. How am I not going to die?
KO.
And that was the whole point about yellow. Like, they could stop you. They always had stopping powers. They always had negations. They always had counterplays. But at some point, if they don't end the game, you have your entire board to turn sideways, and eventually you're going to run out. That is not yellow anymore. Yellow will stop your entire turn, play a Turles for 2 energy, pick your 2 best cards, and be like, they are not in the equation anymore. Then they can be like, you know what, though? I have 5 energy, and I only need 1 energy to stop 3 different attacks. So here's another Turles, and this one's going to draw, and I'm going to pop your other... Like, why did they let us even do this? It's just kind of... It's sad to me, because I think it's going to be very hard to balance the card quality, even with this ban list. We are at a space where you can ban most of the good cards in yellow, and yellow will still be a good color next set. Both the archetypes in yellow are some of the best archetypes in the set. So yellow's already the best de facto color, getting the best archetypes. You can't neuter yellow willy-nilly, because yellow isn't tied to an archetype. Yellow just has cards that for some reason are snapped. Like, I think they banished the dude who created Broly BR, and they just sent him to yellow, and they were like, you stay here now. And he's like, you think I won't snap this shit too? And he just started printing all these cards. Like you have, I don't know, man. Like, it's just on another level. Steadfast brings something in tapped, makes a blocker, draws a card to replace itself, and if you don't need it, it's 5k combo in hand. Turles is like, destroys 2 things in tap, which is what yellow desperately needed in terms of being able to do everything. But what's more, they were like, wait, what if I draw this card dead? Oh, we can't have dead draws in yellow. If there's only one thing you want to destroy, you can draw instead. Ah, great, this is awesome. And I'm just like, you have cards in other colors that are awful, but you need them to facilitate other cards, and yellow is just like, nah, I can draw this card dead if I wanted to. Like, it blows my mind. Black needs to be trimmed a little bit, only because if yellow goes down hard enough, black will be ignorant next set. Like, I'm not one to play a deck and be like, oh, this is okay because I like it. No, like, yellow being able to stop my torrent of attacks does not make black less ignorant. Black is very ignorant outside of yellow. So I don't even know how they're supposed to fix black, because Trunks is an issue.
We've been actually testing a lot of black Trunks, and that deck actually puts in the work versus yellow in a way that I have never seen a black deck be able to stop yellow and like manipulate the game in a way that you don't even care that they Power of Super Saiyan you or Steadfast you, because this Trunks has spot removal. That Unison, the new Unison, is not gonna go anywhere. And the sad part is that any of the cards from black that could get hit in a ban list or restricted or any of those things, Trunks doesn't even need them. We're talking about Beyond All Limits. I think that card has way too much value, and as a black player, I honestly think it should be either limited or they need to do something about it.
But still, they're gonna fall. If Beyond Limits goes, the old Trunks, the Xeno Trunks, gonna be played more.
That's what I'm saying.
But
That's
that's
what I'm
two
saying.
energy, right? That's two energy, and I guess it's the upside of grabbing anything. But that's the problem. You're getting so much free stuff, and that's what Black has always been known for. Is anytime it was cracked, Dark Broly and
Recycle.
stuff is recycling because everything's free.
That's
Right.
why I think Supreme Kai might go too, or the Black Smoke Dragon. That combo needs to be limited because that's a free draw.
So the what I was trying to get at with going with the Black Trunks, it has something that we have not seen in Black, and is a token negate. And the interactions that you can do with the new Poutine, it's ridiculous. You can actually block with Poutine on your opponent, like when on your opponent's swing. They swing again, you negate with the token negate, and it's a blocker. You can block with that token, pop the token on active battle to restand your Poutine.
Yes.
Where is the problem with, like, I don't care that you did all your shenanigans with yellow, and we've been testing against yellow with Trunks at full power, and it's giving yellow a run for his money. I'm honestly scared that if they don't touch Black, it's gonna get hit hard on not this BANLIST, the next one, because it's gonna be degenerate. And I'm a Black player. I don't want Black to get hit, and it's a matter of they're trying to give Black tools to counter those really oppressive I'm gonna tap all your stuff kind of stuff decks. With that being said, yellow and Black, they need to be tuned up 100%.
That with Black though, that it is funny that they finally did give them the homicidal cloned version in Black, and how much more interactive it is with Black because of that Poutine play. But it was just like, for so long there was like, okay, you know what? Red was the aggro deck before. You know what? Now we made these Black decks like crazy fast. We're gonna make Black this aggro deck. We're not gonna give them a unison counterplay, and we're not gonna give them that negate just so that they're glass cannons. And now they're doing this, and then like you said with that play, that's what you got: a negate, 3 blocks, like with what? How much energy are you using there? How much is the Poutine? What, 2?
It's 1 energy.
1 energy.
And when you restand her, you draw a card.
Oh, yeah, and why not?
Trunks, as it is right now, with all the cards being legal, draws almost as much as Icarus, and that's scary.
It's okay. Truth. I have so much to like. You've brought up so many good points, and it's just like, all right. So I'm a little weird about Black right now because I feel like the SR Trunks is actually a mistake. As much as I love that card, I feel like it's a mistake. One, it's generic, and so it's kind of weird because at this very moment, I would still play if Black doesn't receive any hits whatsoever, I would still play Gogeta Zeno over Trunks right now. And that is mainly because I can actually use that Trunks SR in Gogeta Zeno. In terms of what they do, Trunks is such a good deck in general, but its archetype cards just feel weaker than like the 2-drop Goten and Gohans that come out. Like, for what it's doing with its energy, it just feels like its archetype pieces are kind of weirder. It has an excellent amount of filter. Like, you're going through your deck, they're all draw 2s, get rid of 1 card. So you're filtering 2, you're plussing 1, and that's pretty neat. But like, I don't know how Black is gonna be tuned really. Like, they could hurt Thwarting, and that would be fine. I think Thwarting is one of those cards where you don't need it at 4 in the deck. You shouldn't be able to just throw a Thwarting down just because you can. It needs to be like a trigger pull, not just a Kobe, like, eat this double strike. Like, it definitely needs to be pulled in. But it's also just kind of weird because a lot of Black's swinging power comes in double strikes. You've got the new Trunks SR, you've got Fighting Against Fate being as good as he is. And my issue with like double strike, or dual attacks. My issue with dual attacks is that you tap them once when they're played or before they can swing, and they are no longer threats. You just negated the ability to dual attack. And this kind of puts them in a weird place with how many current effects are in the game. But losing power of a Super Saiyan definitely opens up black to be a very nasty color. Steadfast still exists, that's true. I'm still salty over Black Kamehameha. It's just not. It's not where it's at. I'm very upset about that card in general. But it's. I don't know how they limit black, because black is on the cusp of being ignorant. It's like very, very, very close, and the only thing keeping it from being ignorant, like you were saying, Ellen, is just where yellow is right now. So that's scary. That's just very, very, very scary. In terms of just though that SR 6-drop overwhelms have always kind of been some of the biggest overwhelms we've been playing for quite some time. They're the most impactful. You're either going for game or applying massive pressure with Fighting Against Fate. You're blowing up somebody's field to Kingdom Come with Secret Identity. You're going and getting cards back from your warp with Beyond All Limits. But the thing is, they always kind of had their cooldown. Most times you're not back to back to back turning 6-drops. And with this Trunks SR, you were dropping a 6-drop overwhelm every single turn effortlessly without having to overextend from your hand. You could defend yourself and just be like, oh, I used 3 cards. I combo with 2 cards and I negated you with a blocker negate. Cool. I'm swinging once with Trunks, putting 3 down. Then I'm going to hit you with an overwhelm. I'm going to swing again with Trunks. This is better against not yellow, because playing things before you swing is definitely bad against yellow. But you're able to conserve so much. You don't have to overextend your hand just to make an overwhelm. And it makes these 6-drop overwhelms, which were previously just like, okay, these are my boss monsters. I got to space them out, though, because I only got so many cards in deck. Nah. Trunks just trivializes that. So it's just gross. Like, my testing group is like, bro, you dropped Fighting Against Fate 3 turns in a row. Then a Beyond All Limits. And then you just hit me with a Secret Identity. I'm just like, yes. Like, with the power of Overwhelm Trunks, this is all possible. And I will continue to do this every turn. And it's just like, it's wild. It's kind of a wild thing. So, I don't know. It kind of makes me sad, because when you release a brand new card and you can see that card snapping a color, you know it's going to probably keep that color snapped for the foreseeable future, because, like, what are they going to do? Ban, like, Fighting Against Fate? Ban Secret Identity? Like, limit them? Like, they're not going to hit this Trunks SR. So, like, what are we about to see?
That
kind
funny.
of hurts.
That's funny, because the last one that I knew was like that was Power of a Super Saiyan. Was that everyone was just like, I know with Jay, we were opening the case and it was just like, ooh, another Power of a Super Saiyan SPR. We know these are going to be fucking a lot of money, because we already, as soon as this card was announced, everyone knew how snapped it was. And it was just like, and it's staying because this is the new card. Maybe this is, that was still before, obviously before Mecha got hit, whatever. But everyone's just like, yeah, why not? Why not rest something and draw a card when you have one mono yellow standing up? And then worst comes to worst, you can use it as a negate if you need be, just as a little extra fail safe.
That's beautiful.
Oh,
Pasta 1? Damn.
yeah.
That would create rippling effects. You put Power of a Super Saiyan to 1 energy stances no longer matter, meaning that like lots of people don't understand the ripple the way they need to. Like, people can see, oh, Power of a Super Saiyan can go, and they don't recognize that Power of the Super Saiyan going, if you were just to get rid of that card completely, it's like trickle down effects. You can't just leave 1 energy open knowing that single energy can be a tap something, draw, and then when you play something, steadfast something else, and then when you swing, okay, I've got a blocker if need be. They have to leave 2 energy open to be able to produce a steadfast and a negate on top of that. And that means that their turn, in turn, they can only invest so much energy to it. On 3 energy, you can't turless somebody and know you're going to live completely unscathed next turn. You have to wait until turn 4 to use a turless, which therein kind of fixes some of the momentum issues that yellow currently has. They can't stifle your entire turn and clap your entire board in the same turn. Well, same cycle turn.
Yeah, they got to pick one or the other, right? That's
exactly.
That's what Power of the Super Saiyan was allowing them to. Yeah, you know what? Sure, let's go do this. Wipe the board, and then whatever he can swing with, I got protection for that, because he's not gonna have much left.
So
Yeah.
I just realized that I was muted the whole time. And I was
Oh,
like,
no, we heard you.
no, you didn't. Anyway, so hear me out on this. This is my thought of the easiest way to balance this color power struggle with black and yellow is to just unerrata young invaders. Because King Vegeta, when he was aggro, yes, that was oppressive, but the control of red to neg power during any time during the battle step, I feel is the easiest way to kind of balance out the overbearing issues you guys have been mentioning with Trunks and Yellow, personally. And I feel like King Vegeta as a leader, he never got the chance to show, but that he could abuse that to the fullest in a good way, of just being able to, any card that negs a card, then in turn being able to neg an additional 10k to kind of, kill that Trunks on the swing. And I've noticed that Bandai has been more reluctant to print barrier on cards nowadays. So I don't know. I feel like red is kind of the answer to this problem, is if you just kind of overtune red a little bit on the negging mechanics, that it kind of balances out the other issues that the other colors are doing. Causing.
No, I mean, I definitely feel that, because even before some of the stuff got hit, one of my roommates, Nick, he was very much so into, he won a whole case tournament using just mid-range King Vegeta, because unless you were playing Dark Broly, and everybody was kind of hopping off it at the time, your stuff wasn't living. Like, you literally just played cards, and it's like, is that 25 or under? Get it off the field now. And then it's just like, and against like SR Trunks, that's game. You get rid of those 4 cards, they're never coming back. So you'd be afraid to almost even swing with those. It's also kind of weird though, because if King Vegeta came back, like if they unerrated Young Invaders right now, you kind of have a weird paradigm shift where almost every single color in the game would be a mid-range deck. Like, we would not really have as many like aggro decks in the format. It's like red, you're playing mid-range. Blue, of course, is mid-range. Yellow, definitely mid-range. And then that just leads to extremely long games, which aren't really a problem, but it's kind of weird. I do have to go upstairs for a moment.
With that same thought too, if because they did announce that we are still doing webcam events this season, going into the new season. And if they implement these best of one rules where you can side, it kind of makes it okay to be mid-range now, because now you can side if you're an aggro deck to play mid-range or to kind of counter those mid-range strategies. And then it's okay.
I can get behind that. I do, real quick before I run up, want to say that when it comes to King Vegeta FTK, I can't respect it. I can't respect it. Their FTK turns got destroyed by a single Sensu Bean. King Vegeta's imposing presence, Protector of the People, destroyed their onslaught turn. But at the time, nobody wants to main 3 Protector of the People. They're like, no, won't have it, refuse to do it. But you resolve 1, and they're like, damn.
But
it was like, it's the peak of the idea where people are like, oh, not playing a Unison in my deck? That doesn't seem like a good idea. And so like when King Vegeta came out, it's like, oh, well, let's just take the Unison out and focus more heavy. People were just like, oh, I don't want to take out my Unison, and now it's just overpowered. So I just feel like it was someone taking a mechanic out of their deck building and just showing what old DBS used to be.
Have you tried running negates? If you run negates, you might not die on turn 2.
Yeah. The thing about the FTK there, that that's the same thing with the old Storm as well too. It was if you knew you were facing Storm, you were mulliganing 6 until you had your Sensu Bean, because it shut off. That was literally what completely shut off, because everything was 10k and then 15 at max. But another thing with King Vegeta that I still to this day don't like that they did was both effects on Vegeta, making them 1. Why couldn't they just keep when you play it on the end of your turn at your opponent's, that was free, the other one for 1? I don't know why they didn't try it like that. They were just so scared of
That's funny.
that
I actually thought the opposite.
Really? You thought the one on your own? I just feel like that one, because you have more control with that one should be the payable one. The other one on your opponent's side, at least they have the chance to pay an energy to get rid of it, or use it to their advantage somehow, which is very hard to do unless they, I don't know,
It was more
Zamasu it, but
because when you play it to your opponent's side of the reason why I suggest that is because the thing that I thought made Young Invaders overpowered was if your opponent, you're rewarded for going second. So if playing it on your opponent's field costs an energy, it would prevent you from being able, if they go first, to just critting one of their life. Them going
True.
first. So if you don't have to pay it for your turn, yes, you're rewarded going first, but you're gonna play your baby for free. You're either gonna tap one and go into your Vegeta that searches the top 5, or do the free Vegeta and have less of a board state, but then be able to give it to them on their turn to burn them for a life. So that was why I felt like if they did just remove it for playing it, costing energy on your turn, but still cost energy on your opponents, it would kind of remove a lot of the issues that field spell put forth. But
They could have limited that to 1.
But yeah, but I'm saying, think about it this way too. If you do that crit effect early, like if that's turn, because that happens when? That happens like at the
before
start.
they draw their turn, yeah.
Before
at
they
the
draw.
very start of their turn.
Okay, so that, in that sense where you're doing there, sure, maybe unless you're Beerus or something, that's horrifying, going down to, well, you can't even because it's 5 or less or whatever the effect was. It's been so long since I played against the King Vegeta deck.
Yeah.
You're giving them an extra card to play with turn 1. You also got to think about that too, because if they're going from 8 to 7, they're not really going to care that much early on. That extra card actually, instead of starting at 6, they're starting at 7, right? So their charge might be a little different. That's the only thing. The only reason why I'm saying that effect as well too is that it gives uniqueness to the deck. Where it's a weird deck, Young Invaders, you're invading your opponent's board, and then you're getting bonuses or giving them like basically cursed cards on their side of the field.
Right.
But
while
that's the
you're
only
also
reason.
giving them an additional card, you're giving yourself an additional card, because if they go first, you give them a baby, they don't have the opportunity to remove it from their board because they can't swing, so they can't get rid of it. So then on your turn, you gain more advantage than that one card that they got by just putting the baby back at the bottom.
It's true. That is true. I'm just saying from
So-
the point of how like they try to make you like weirdish archetypes. That's what my stance was towards it. But yeah, it does make sense as well too. Just specifically for that turn 1, them going second, having that advantage there.
Yeah. But I'm also kind of opposed to erratas, like more and more erratas to solve ban list issues, only because they don't really have a defined way of reprinting those. So the more erratas you build, the harder you make it for new players to come into the game, which I feel needs to be Bandai's main focus right now, is rebuilding a player base, because I don't necessarily feel like it's growing as much as it's stagnating. But that's just my personal thought. So I think whatever this ban list is going to be, it's going to be in the mind of taking advantage of these new types of side events, while also not being a full rotation, but hitting a lot of older cards that aren't necessarily being printed and reprinted anymore to increase interest of new players.
It's gonna be kind of a maybe weird take on it. I actually don't think, like, hear me out. I don't think right now Dragon Ball Super is necessarily having trouble right now getting new people into the game, because I think in terms of casual players, it's actually been flourishing. In terms of collectors, we are getting more and more collectors trying to get in on racing to find these chase cards.
Yes,
But casual
collectors, I
people,
agree.
it's like casuals don't necessarily get on a Facebook group to know how to play the game. Casuals might just be playing in their rooms, or they're, just with their friends. They may just be collecting the cards on their own and be like, like they just have it for their own purposes. But like the thing is, Dragon Ball Super is actually selling more than they have since set 4 right now. Like, Dragon Ball Super is making enough money to where they can refoil and reprint a bunch of not new cards and sell it as a set. Like, you don't just throw that out there when you're having trouble. Like, but the thing is, like, and if they're doing better sales than they've ever done in like 2 years ish, almost 3 years, that's not coming from the competitive players. Like, we don't buy shit right now. Like, we look at half these sets and we're like,
that's 100%. That's I'm glad you said that. I'm glad you because it's just everyone's just like, oh, this new green stuff. Oh, this sucks. Oh, this sucks. I'm just gonna keep my old set 10, set 11 deck, whatever that I've been rocking and murdering people with, and
Singles
keep it that way.
only.
That's true. That's a good way because collectors are a big thing because you see especially the Goku cards, any like high like SPR or secret rare, they just skyrocket because I like Goku. This looks cool. I'm getting into it specifically for that. But funny enough, when you said casual players, the tournament that we played in today, the Upper Hand, it's one of those free like circuits where it runs for 12 weeks. I think what were we at today, Jay? 40 people.
40.
So we
yeah.
we literally had Asian Nats on a Tuesday evening. So like,
oh, not the Asian Nats.
but I'm just saying, and I've been running in every week. Like, I think the past couple weeks where someone just like, oh, this is like my second time playing. This is my first time playing in, or second or first time playing in a tournament, and it's just like a free webcam thing where I think. Sure, COVID has sucked for the major events, the regionals and all that, and people always, this sucks. People cheat all the time, which I haven't had to experience it personally. But, of course, playing in person is nicer. But this webcam thing has opened up for a lot of new players, and I think that's actually been a good thing for the growth of the game with new players.
No, for sure. With all those people that are not like don't have locals and everything, like
I think this
it's
should be a
super-
all the way through.
100%. I think it's just a new avenue, right? Like we don't got no Dragon Ball Super Master Duel to completely get it official. Make sure they're not cheating, right? And untap is not for everyone. So this is, and playing with physical cards is 100 times better than playing fucking untap. Especially when you're playing a deck where you got a peep top 3 or 2 like Pycon. Fuck that deck. That's what I hope gets banned. I hope Pycon gets banned so no one in my chat ever makes me force me to play that deck again. That's my thoughts on the ban list.
So it's kind of wild. While we're on like distribution of other card games, it's one thing that's kind of crazy is that while people can say what they want about Dragon Ball Super, oh well, this is skillless, this is this. Dragon Ball Super has one of the highest curves, like learning curves, I have played in a TCG, and like I've played a lot of TCGs. Like I have competitively played Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh, Card Fight Vanguard, like freaking Force of Will. Like I grinded Yu-Gi-Oh for years, and really like we're at a point where Pokemon has always been solitaire. Digimon, I'm not going to talk badly about Digimon, but Digimon is fairly void of interaction. Like you play, exactly. It's not as solitaire as Pokemon, but really the main interaction you have is swinging into your opponent's security. And even then, it's not like there's a great amount of interaction that you flip the stuff, you see what's going on, you move on. And Yu-Gi-Oh, huh?
You got it, you don't.
That's like, oh, sorry.
Digimon is kind of you got it or you don't got it.
Yeah, and then you move into things like Yu-Gi-Oh, and at this point right now, Yu-Gi-Oh is a lot of solitaire unless your opponent has hand traps. Like if you open up and your setup's pristine, your opponent has to have something in their hand they can drop to prohibit you or to make it harder for you to make your plays. Or your best, it's almost like a fighting game. You touch them one time and you're just trying not to drop combo. Like you're like trying to make sure you make your setup.
Basically.
And
Yeah. Master Duel has started to get flooded with a lot of FTKs now too because of the lack of handling the ban list properly, like just making it kind of random. So a lot of the bigger YouTubers have started showing all like a plethora of FTKs.
Oh, it's fact. They have like a separate ban list on Master Duel than the real game, and a lot of people. It's really funny because Master Duel is an online client and a cash grab, and they just wait for everybody to touch Yu-Gi-Oh. But it's crazy how many people went into Master Duel with nostalgia glasses, and then started realizing that Yu-Gi-Oh has been evolving. Papa Konami has hit power creep button maybe 30,000 times in the past decade. And they're seeing what Yu-Gi-Oh actually is right now, and it's crazy. Like, it's crazy for them. But it's like,
Now-
oh, sorry, go for it.
Oh, it's okay. I was just going back to with Dragon Ball. I think also that the subject of what is on the ban list isn't as important as I think people just want a ban list so they can start, finding reasons to play and, collect cards again, because it just, that for me personally, there's that feeling of waiting. I'm like, hit Sabine, hit whatever you want, but I just need something so I don't feel like I don't want to waste investment on building something that's potentially going to get hit.
Confirmation.
So,
yeah.
Very, very much so true. It's just, I just feel sad because if yellow stays the way it is, you're playing at a handicap by going to a tournament and not playing yellow. Essentially, like, you may top, but like once you hit top cut, you'll be fighting against something that's really just not. It's just, I don't know. The way these cards are designed, it's just on another. It's on another level. It's on another level. Like, yellow is able to do so many things at this point that other people shouldn't. That other people have no access to. Like, yellow has a floodgate that stops you from getting extra cards from your deck outside your leader. Yellow has a card that makes each of your extra cards cost one more. Why do both cards have barrier? Don't ask me. I'm not here to answer questions like that. But like, they have these cards. Yellow has an extra card that adds combo power and goes through barrier and negates effects. Yellow has cards that can 2-for-1 you. Yellow has, and you just look at that, and it's absolutely crazy. Like, if we ever saw a card like Turles in red, we'd be like, this is an SCR, and it's just a normal day for yellow. Like, and that part is just so absolutely nutty to me, because we need to see a huge change.
And like the icing and the cherry on the top is the consistency where they can do that. It's not even a matter of like, oh, this turn he might have something to tap me. Is this turn he has 3 things in his hands because he draw 6 cards last turn, and the consistency of the deck is so good that's what makes it consistently top. That's why black has that little bit of a problem, right? It's somewhat RNG based with the burst, and if you don't mill properly, you can't thwarting turn 1. Of course, like Gogeta Sino, that's you're running 100 Gokus and 100 Vegetas, you're probably gonna hit your thwarting turn 1. But other black decks don't have
Karl
that luxury. They don't have that luxury that yellow has. Like, that consistency, it's what makes them so good.
And
when you look at Bandai's history too, I mean, they obviously have a favorite color, and it's typically yellow or blue. Like, all of our Nats topping has yellow in it. All of the Super Shenron was yellow. Broly was yellow, blue. Battering Laser, like a lot of very polarizing cards have always been yellow. And I don't know, maybe. And then when they released All Too Easy, it almost felt like they were just like, you know what? It's Nats. Let's make sure a yellow deck wins Nats again. So we're just going to release this card just to make sure it happens.
I mean, it definitely was out of yellow's wheelhouse. It's kind of weird because blue, I can get seeing how blue and yellow would be Bandai's favorite colors, but it's like so weird because like both times that yellow won nationals, the deck that was based in yellow was the most un-yellow fucking deck that existed. It's like yellow's like, oh, I tap this, I cold bloodlust this, I do what yellow aggro slop. Makes sense. And then you go all this time with yellow being yellow as a color. It's normal. I'm gonna make it harder for you to play the game. And then you just get like, oh, my leader swing. my leader take life and something, swing again. There's very aggro-like things. So like both of those yellow decks are so not yellow in identity. And then they were combined with Lord Combo Extender itself, which was blue. Like blue, it's really weird because like blue does seem like it's one of Bandai's favorite colors, but in reality, blue has just housed Sensu Bean, then Unyielding, then D-Magic. Like, that is what blue has done throughout the entirety of the game.
Don't forget Xeno Button. Don't forget Xeno Button.
Okay, more energy manipulation. All blue has allowed you to do is play with more energy than you were naturally supposed to have, which is a very powerful concept. But blue is never good enough to do it on its own for the most part. You gotta like put some stopping power out from another color in blue, and then blue just starts doing terrible things to people.
Early on, because I agree with that being Bandai's the two colors in the beginning, because SS3, the original SS3, that and Harudagarn were that one was the catalyst to Storm, the other one was the catalyst to everything. And also early on, yellow's also been people are like, oh, yellow's busted now. Yellow's always been busted. Yellow, even just a yellow leader, like obviously you had Mecha Frieza, the original one, but when that got banned, everyone hopped on to Ginyu Veggies when that came out. It wasn't you weren't even running. You might run one yellow card just so you can play Planet Vegeta, search out your combo or whatever, or so you can get your Bloodlust because Bloodlust was still at 4, and you still had Crusher Ball and the only two real counterplays in the game, and that's why Minus Killy Zone came out to try to kill yellow. Sure. And then, like you said, Broly BR, that yellow is just the first, I'm pretty sure that's the first leader where you could swing, take a life, and draw. So it was just like, yeah, let's go absolutely wild. And then they rotted that leader twice. And it was just like, okay, let's relax with yellow. And then it's like, you know what, we'll bring Mecha Frieza back. This will be fine. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. We're gonna tone it down.
Opening Pandora's box again.
Yeah, it was like SS3. Like, see, look, we made SS3 completely fair. You got a crit a life, you got a bottom deck, you have no hand. So you see, we can do this with Mecha Frieza as well, too, right, guys?
Yeah, and you have always each time there's like Frieza support, you have always Golden Frieza that's coming laying around and do some shit because yellow is yellow.
Exactly.
Right, Birrar?
What?
Yellow, the yellow
Golden
Frieza? Golden Frieza?
Oh my god. That shit's fun though.
And then don't forget the sleeper deck that Josh just had in his hand, Sin Shinron.
Oh my god. Sin.
Sin
Like-
Shinron is an existence that exists outside of yellow. Sin Shinron could have been any color and it would still
Right.
be the same deck. But Sin Shinron is just like if Dragon Ball Super was the Marvel universe, Sin Shinron is like all the mutants off on their own island. Like it doesn't matter what the rest of the format's doing. It's got everything it needs on that island. You want to aggro? I got you, bro. You want to play a little mid-range? I got you, bro. You want to be hard control? We don't need any other stuff. Like you could, it's wild. No matter what happens on this ban list, Sin Shinron will be on its island with like a telescope leg.
You
That's-
got it.
yeah.
It's kind of weird over there. Let me just.
Yeah, it's literally,
But
yeah.
It's definitely something that I feel like when they're handling the ban list, they should consider.
They
Because-
need to.
Like we're saying, Sin is not a bad deck in any means.
We'll get to-
Once you take the two, if you over hurt the other two decks that have been kind of keeping it in check, it just all of a sudden becomes this beast that is all very archetype specific. So you can't really hit the deck, you know, like in an emergency generic level.
That
But
yeah,
yeah.
that is funny too because I saw Josh flexing another one. Poutine was a big contention. Sin Shenron's just like, yeah, we got a better version of that. Like, so
Naturon.
we Naturon. It's like, yeah, wait, you have to do the first one on Poutine. That sucks. I got one that I can do whenever I want, hits unisons, and do whatever. But yeah, that's funny because everyone just assumed Sin Shenron was dead after they tried to kill Aggro Sin with the Celerata, which is just like, no, that just made Cell fair. And even so, at worst, that's still a 40k swing on turn 2 in Sin Shenron if you're going aggro. 40 single, like what the like what the fuck?
Still can
You
get.
you can reprint the Sin Shenron deck in red,
Yeah,
and it would
that's-
be
Yeah.
it would be great.
Buddy.
It would be great. But the
I
other
feel
thing,
you'd be missing key things, in my opinion, for Sin if you were
Well,
to print it any
you know
other
what?
color.
You'd be a good person to talk about that. Playing Sin since they fucking
Since it had no support.
since they
Yeah, I
printed it
feel-
right off the printers. You went in there, stole a cup, like I like GT now.
Oh, no.
I never
be
watched
fair,
it, but
though,
okay.
if they hit the cooler counter, that would definitely be a way to hurt yellow and also put Sin more in check, because I think Sin actually abused that better than Icarus in a pure sense, because you throw 30k bodies for 1 energy and you're like, that 3 energy doesn't mean anything. And I just felt like it could technically abuse that the best, but it just wasn't as represented as Gohan.
but if they hit Power of a Super Saiyan, they're probably gonna hit Putin, and they even touch Cooler counter. Yellow is dead. Like
Oh.
that will kill Yellow.
I think I'm okay with that.
But if
Alright.
they could,
We gotta.
All
Yeah,
those
yeah.
4 cards, or if all those 4 cards get hit, pure yellow. I'm talking about like pure yellow with your splash of Putin. Like
Poutine, honestly, this is going to be weird, but I kind of agree with Jordan. Poutine, 9 times out of 10, you can take Poutine out of your yellow decks and you won't even miss her because she's a 1-drop, or she's a 1-of. Like, you see her, and when she's there, she's there. But yellow thrives on its consistency, and Poutine is a card that's, like, on the top of it. Like Bergamo. Bergamo is more impactful, and you will shut down somebody's life with Bergamo. But if you don't see Bergamo, yellow's still doing yellow things. Cooler definitely needs to go, and the only reason why I kind of feel like I get what you were saying about how Sin touches on Cooler, but when it comes to Icarus, it's just you're able to see so many cards that it's not a if my opponent has Cooler. It is my opponent just made a really weird play, looks at energy, that motherfucker's got Cooler, and you know they have it because it's how the deck flows. And so I'm not sure if any particular deck abuses Cooler like Icarus, because Icarus has it on tap. Icarus has all of its cards on tap. Like, if you're watching and you don't understand how this kind of momentum works, let's say you have 10 cards in hand and a normal engrave, and your Icarus is, just flipped over. You tap, you go down to 9 cards. You bring the normal back, you're back up at 10. You swing in combo, you are now at 11. Your opponent swings on you next turn, you can steadfast, and you go back up to 11. You can power of a super slant, and you go back up to 11. Just those 2 cards stop 3 attacks. You go to your next turn, you draw, you charge, going down 1 card, but then you immediately gain 2 just by using your leader effect and getting a single swing in. The deck pluses, and its best cards float. So, like, you're going through your deck at high speeds. You're going to see your 2-ofs. You're going to see your 3-ofs. You are going to see your 4-ofs multiple times. It's like everything in there is there. It's a toolbox level consistency, and it doesn't search anything. Like,
make Janemba Mill great again.
make Janemba get out. Nope. Out.
No,
There
Nope.
we go.
Nope. Dragon Ball Super is a game built on acceleration, and Janemba's like, oh, so you drawing cards. Well, yeah, that's kind of how the game is built. Cool, because I'm milling them, and you're like, that seems counterintuitive. Why? I love
feel like
TCGs, but
all- I feel like alternate win condition decks are either really gimmicky or too strong, and I feel like it's just better to not have them. Like, unless you go more the gimmicky, and it's just more for like, the fun of it. Like Dr. Euro, is like, yeah, it's you win if you get 10 cards under this, but the chances of that happening are a lot less than, oh, I just have to kind of swing and pass and live, and then you just deck out naturally.
But
I
beer
like
is
alternate win cons.
We
Yeah,
haven't
that-
even touched on and I'll say this real quick and let you finish because I cut the shit out of you. Trunks and Vegeta yellow, and I'll
Yeah.
put that in the bubble and I'll give you the mic.
Trunks and Vegeta yellow. Look, yellow, the way yellow's bank account is set up, you just need to be in club yellow and you need to be a 7 out of 10 or higher, and club yellow will carry you to tier 1. That's just how it is right now. If you've played Trunks has a very good SR that is one of those stupid cards that activate battle is one of the most annoying things in this game right now, because you have to commit to stopping the play before they have to commit to making it. They just turn that crap sideways and you're like, well, I got to negate here, don't I? And then they can be like, okay, swing with something else. And they can lose the triple strike, still use the activate battle, blow up 2 things. It's just dumb. But Yellow Trunks has a couple of good things going for it. 1, you don't have to run a Champa because it's got built-in Champa. 2, it thins its deck out and those cards draw. 3, it's yellow. And Trunks is good, but honestly, people have been kind of sleeping on Zamasu. People see the draw that's going on with Zamasu, and they don't seem to understand that on top of everything that Yellow currently has, that Goku Black taps energy. It is blue yellow, which means you have access to Kefla. I have had my turn forcibly ended for me, like those Yugi turns. You remember in the Yu-Gi-Oh show where like somebody would be like, I play a monster, and you would be like, I activate a trap card, it's in defense mode now. And they're like, okay, well, I guess I'll just have to play my turn, draw. And they're like, wait, whoa. And like, it's already Yugi's turn. That's how Yellow feels in Zamasu right now. Like, you're like, I'm going to tap 2 to play this card. Cool. This. Well, I have 1 energy now, and I'm going to hold it because I need to negate. Draw, charge, Goku Black SR. No, you don't, sir. Good day. And you're like,
No.
Well,
Should have just fucking tapped out then.
like, it hurts so bad. Like, Zamasu is actually the main reason why I'm shaking my head about Yellow, because you could ban Power of a Super Saiyan, you could ban Cooler Negate, you can hurt Final Flash, and Zamasu will still forcibly injure turns. Zamasu will still be able to, if they don't ban Bergamo too, like, oh no, like
I mean, alternatively, too, they could just go the route of, you know what, let's errata all of these very strong staples to be archetype specific, and then just reprint them in an upcoming pack. And then just, because, I mean, the last few sets have been so archetype heavy that all of the decks that were more general got better. But if they just kind of made everything more archetype heavy, then it kind of resolves all the issues, right?
it kills deck building though. It kills the heart of deck building, and people love being able to deck build.
It
Very
does, but
true.
I mean, Yu-Gi-Oh also managed to do that for from Pendulum going forward. You know, where
Synchro's going forward, bro.
yeah, aside from like Invoked, everything else is still very archetype heavy. But
I don't think you can count Yu-Gi-Oh only because Papa Konami he somehow defies everything that should be good business practice. Like Konami, for the past, how old am I? I'm 29. For the past 15 years, Konami has done things that would just completely ass out other card game companies. Like Magic, there's a broken combo that's ending people on turn 3. And Magic's like, okay, we don't want to screw over the people that really went in on this set, but we are letting you know that this will be addressed. And this is when it's going to be addressed. Have your fun. We're only holding 1 or 2 big premiere events, and then we're hurting this thing. Konami's like, I know y'all saw this deck fucking up the game in the OCG for the past 3 months.
Go buy it.
Now it's coming out in America. Buy this shit now, and we're going to continue to watch it because this pack needs to sell. Now, once our next pack comes over, we'll see about it on this April 1st ban list, but you already know the vibes. And then you're sitting here like playing Yu-Gi-Oh! And you're like, wow, this is the strongest deck that I've ever played with. How can they top this? And Konami's like, I don't know yet either, but we're going to. And they do. And then they do again. And they do again. Like, the power creep that we complain about is just the average set release of Yu-Gi-Oh! Yu-Gi-Oh! Exists on this separate plane that other TCGs can't manage on. Like, could you imagine Magic the Gathering printing like a vanilla card with a different foil and selling it for $2,000? Because Konami definitely just made a platinum blue eyes that had like a limited like 10,000 count, and they're just selling them for like 2,000 MSRP, and people sold it out. I'm like, it's insane.
To be fair, though, the few sets that you missed of Bandai's ban list, they started giving reasons, like after set 7, why they banned the cards. And I remember when they banned Android 21 Violent Predator, and they're like, well, we realized that this card makes it harder for us to release our new block, so we're just going to ban it to help sell the new way we want to play the card game.
Not the new way. It's the old way that is no longer the old way because we went into a multicolor block. Like, Violent Predator straight up was like, did you like multicolored?
Yeah, that card's fucked. Yeah.
Actually, if you really want to go there, Violent Predator made it impossible to play the old decks. Violent Predator made it so that you had to play multicolor to play the game. And then removing Violent Predator from the game. Because, like, I wasn't playing during that time, but I definitely was aware of that. And I looked at Violent Predator, I was like, man, they said, fuck you if you weren't playing multicolored. They said, are you hanging on the old decks?
It was a gas decision, but they definitely weren't afraid to say, hey, we're going to ban these cards.
Nope.
I mean,
he's through the woods here. This is the neighborhood without the signal.
The aliens took him.
I mean, I can't judge anything with Violent Predator because I too can mess up in life. And when I realize I messed up in life and realize that this choice will be detrimental to my life in the future, I too can be like, you know what? Maybe we need to roll this decision back. That's exactly what Violent Predator did. They released Violent Predator, and they were like, this is great. And then they realized that Violent Predator single-handedly stopped people from building decks, and they were like, this is not so great. Like, we're gonna have to address this.
No, I completely agree, because playing against that deck at that time, people are just running Android 18. Oh, I'm going to use my effect so I can combo whatever in my hand that's blue-green, and that's my free arrival into my secret rare. I'm going to ramp 2, and then next turn you're going to get absolutely murdered by Violent Predator. Like,
Violent would still be freaking oppressive in today's meta.
Yeah.
Violent Predator would be awful. like awful to human life. Like, like, this is where R&D needs to be stronger, because literally it would only take somebody, like, I've been advocating for this for the past like 6 months. They make cards to have fun with them. They make cards, and if you notice, every single thing they do is thematic. They look at a leader and they go, how does this character operate in the show? How can we put that into a card game? Goku, in his first use of UI, had a time limit. He was strong, but he had a really short fuse. So what do? They make a burst deck that will deck you out if you just keep going hard, so you have to finish off people in a certain time limit. Great Priest doesn't ever get his hands dirty. So what do? The leader and the unison don't attack, and his angels do all the work. They are always thematic with everything. Champa and Beerus had their combatants fight. That's why they tap and put people in.
Golden Frieza.
And because, yeah, like, you have this. Golden Frieza doesn't give a fuck about his people, so he sacrifices them for literal personal gain. Like, they will always be thematic. But what they don't seem to have is a person who's looking at these cards and go, how do I make the most unpleasant experience for my opponent possible? And when you don't have somebody that's looking to break the game from your cards, you miss a lot of unhealthy interactions. Violent Predator is one of them. It would have taken 3 seconds to be like, so what happens if I wanted to build monocolor again? And they were like, oh shit.
Right.
Ooh, like, there are just so many cards like that. Like you literally they just print certain cards, and it's not cool. Like, look at Hatch. Hatch, okay, it's a secret rare, that makes sense. But like, somebody could have also been like, you know, Hatch is the only card in the game that says unless you have a counter, you literally cannot win this turn. You can make this card, but just understand that you are making a singularity in the game and it's the only card that does this, and it's restricted to one color. So I just have to let you know what you're doing. Or Divine Presence when it came out. Somebody could have been like, yo, Divine Presence is kind of heat, dog. But I need you to understand that blue has not a single card in their arsenal that touches this card.
Mhm.
Like blue does not play well versus you resolve a Divine Presence, and their choices are to counter, block somehow, or drop 3 cards in hand minimum to not get swung on. So like, I don't know if you want to make a thicker card that can like maybe come into play and then block, or maybe like a revamp on Mafuba, but like you need to do something, because that's literally how I got as far as I did in Gen Con. I faced 5 blue decks, and you resolve Divine Presence, and they're like,
Well, fuck.
So, question: do you guys think we're going to get the Expert Deck Cell released cards teased before or after the ban list?
I don't.
when is it dropping?
The Expert Deck comes out,
Yeah.
I think, the same time that the main set does.
If it's the
Before.
same,
Yeah,
Okay,
it would
so-
be. It would be before.
I
The
believe.
it would be the expert deck will come after the ban list.
see that there's no way to really, I don't think, tell that one, because there's multiple ways you can market that. Like if they
February
somehow hit February 14th. Oh, it's coming out February 14th?
Yeah.
February 14th? Wait, the
Yeah,
deck?
The expert deck?
Wasn't it delayed though? I thought it was delayed along with the main set.
That's to March.
It's not changed.
If that deck is coming out in 2 weeks, then we're probably getting spoilers like this week. I'm gonna send a
Yeah.
message real quick. I'm like, hey yo, everything all right?
The pack is March 4th, March 11th. It's updated. So I'm guessing Lifeform is February 14th, Valentine's Day.
That's
Okay.
wild.
Oh, got a pre-order then.
So
I want to say
can lay it down again.
Bandai.
It feels
Bandai.
like we should get a ban list before the Expert Deck comes out, because otherwise, is it
Oh,
really
wait.
gonna?
Sorry.
It
This
got
is Old
pushed.
Cell Expert Deck.
All right, we good.
I was gonna say on Monday. What the fuck? I'm just like, when
Yeah,
the hell do they
what?
release
Happy
shit on
Valentine's,
Monday?
kids.
Yeah.
By the way, half of your cards in the expert deck don't work because they're banned.
Guess we're
April,
3 years
April
late.
2022.
April? Okay,
April.
so if it's coming out in April, they'll probably like spacing out content is really, really important for any content producer, and technically their news is content. So I mean, we've already gotten a lot of stuff. We haven't gotten the God Rare yet, but that's just because I think we're going to get that on the Battle Hour. Like it's a platform where multiple people who don't play the card game will be watching, and if they sneak in a God Rare, that's a good point to show it. It's just like between now and March, why not? Like expert decks getting spoiled. I don't know. I don't think there's a correct order, because they could give the expert deck out and you can get hyped, and that can soften the blow of like a potential hit to sell surge. Or you could get a hit to sell surge, and right when you think your life is over because you needed to play it, all of a sudden the expert deck gets spoiled, and you're like, oh, I can breathe again. Like there's merits to releasing them in either order, I think.
I just wanna. Oh, Luca.
I was just gonna say, mine's gonna be quick. I don't know if it'll spark another debate here, but my thought with this whole ban list thing, I think the expert deck will be first, only purely because I think this ban list or lack thereof is all gonna be determined on this pre-siding. Is gonna be if this helps the game. If this helps the game, because 90% of things right now are best of one, and if this can help the game in some way, then they're just like, okay, let's try this first, because Bandai has been known, like we said with Red and King Vegeta and stuff, where they do stuff all too much at once, where they're just, here's this, and here's this, and here's this, and then people are pissed after. So now it's taking a slower approach, because we just got off of Nats, and it's still a long ways before the next Nats, or I don't even know when the hell the next regionals are going to be. So it's kind of like a slow state to see where stuff is pre-Sec 16 or when Sec 16 drops.
No, I just wanted to say that Bandai is doing something that I think will spark a conversation with inside the community. The fact that the world champion gets to make a card, and he's gonna be able to sit down with the developers of the game, right? That could be a good segue into opening to content creators or like professional players like that, you know, our boy that has like 5 or 6 regionals under his belt in Asia, you know, people that constantly top, they should be considered to make like a council, like a group of
Is
very professional players that have somewhat of a voice for the community. And I think that would be a really good way to go about it.
That's actually something that I do have a lot of comments on, because once you get to a point where you can work with Bandai, like communication opens up a little bit. And that's all I can say about that part. But they have already tried to reach out with the community. And the whole part about when you reach out to the community is when you let them in on the creative process, you then have to open up essentially a security leak, a potential leak case. You know, people can spoil your stuff. People can leak it to their teammates, leak it to their buddies. Things can get out before they're ready. Things can get out before they were supposed to be announced. And therein lies the issue. But again, it's been a tried and tired subject, so I won't name names, but they had a group of people helping them, giving them advice, giving them direction, and that group of people put input in on a ban list and then immediately moved cards before they could be banned. And because of that, Bandai has been very tight since. And that's
they are.
and so that's kind of a scary thing, because like that's one of the reasons why I try to make a lot of discussion videos. I'm very much so receptive. If I ever get reached out to, I try to get all the information I can, give it back. I'm very vocal with how things should change, because I do think that we would benefit from players being in on it. However, therein lies another issue. The most competitive player may not be the best player to have on the inside, because what drives most competitive players? Like the competitive glory, the prizing.
Money.
Both of these things, yes. And the competitive prizing is normally flipped. Both of these things are the same kind of roots of like just interest that can lead to these leaks and, you know, the breakings of NDAs and things like that. So I think that if Bandai is going to reach out to players, it's not only going to take more time, but like I do think that content creators are part of that new wave, because if for any reason you were to get ousted, like if you have enough to lose, like it's one thing just to be like, okay, well, I almost got in trouble, but I got a slap on the wrist and I had to sign an NDA for me not to go back to court. But like, I'm sure as hell not risking my subscriber base, my channel, because I want to make some money off of some cards. Like, and to be completely fair, it's like there are times where people are reached out to and you guys never hear about it because we generally like to have our standing. Like, you know, like people are doing the stream for Nats and Worlds. That didn't just happen overnight. There's communication going on in the background. And I definitely do agree with you that we need people that play the game and fundamentally understand the game from a competitive standpoint to help with the design process. It's just that there are clear reasons why Bandai is being so slow to even think about doing that again. But I think there is progress being made.
Yeah, and I feel like the surveys, like if they had surveys specifically on thoughts of the ban lists to get more of a collective opinion, it might help without having to rely on people to not abuse the system.
This is also true. I don't think this is actually a bad thing to say, but I can confirm Bandai watches a lot of prominent videos. Bandai watches more Facebook groups than you think. It's not really like this like barrier of them not caring. They see a lot. I can
tell.
See a lot.
Sure.
See a lot. Every time we cry about Sensu Bean, they see it.
So-
And they reprint Sensu Bean.
They're just like, oh, so the
But
one with
back on the-
Cell, right?
So back on the earlier topic of Cell, this is just a prediction. I think that they're going to reveal the ban list first, and then it's going to include the errata to Ribrianne, and she's going to be the reprint, one of the reprints in the Cell expert deck.
Oh,
Well, that would be heaven.
So I feel like that's what's going to happen, but that's just personal opinion.
I mean, they could go a separate route where, like, if a really expensive card gets errata, instead of making players, like new players, or to make it accessible, if you're gonna do something like that, either add it as a one-off, as a top loader with the errata.
I mean,
The only
they've done
thing
the
about that
errata
is,
pack
like,
before, though.
yeah,
It's
I feel
true.
like the sets are already kind of printed and packed for distribution purposes way before the ban list
That's true.
for like core sets. But I mean, honestly, if they had just included errata packs like they had started like 3 TPs ago and regularly did that, I'm actually more in favor of that than banning cards, of just kind of errataing to balance the game while without killing certain decks, and then just reprint them in tournament packs, because then it'll incentivize players to go to the tournaments to get those cards, as well as like whatever TP cards come out. But
Yeah, I can agree with that. I've been loving those reprint packs. Like, I didn't ever pull a single Vinery out of my boxes. I got like 2 out of the reprints. Like, that's amazing. I can actually play red knowing, oh, I have a floodgate, so I don't just auto die to black for no reason.
I think different rarities of staples, if they're good enough, like nobody wants to have a Galactic Buster and a TP right now. They're going to be used for Bojack, but like,
bro, Prospect looking at you.
look, hey, I'm telling you, Prospect and Cincy Bean both have buttons. They're like, did somebody complain about Cincy? Wow, reprint the next Heroic Prospect is wild. Actually,
Zarbon.
well, it's wild because like they have these polls, and people don't seem to understand that there's a time limit between getting the information, printing the card, and distributing it. So people are seeing Heroic Prospect being printed like 6 times, and they're thinking that they're like, who asked for this? And it's like, us, 6 times a year ago. like 6 separate polls. This is the like most sought after card. And it's just now hitting distribution. But when it comes to erratas, I kind of feel like it'd be really cool if they made like a portal from their own site. Like, hear me out, like a portal from their own site. Maybe this is the only thing they sell, other than maybe custom dice and stuff like that. But every year, they just have like they do erratas maybe once a year or even twice a year, and they just have an errata set. Foil, non-foil. Cheap price, because technically erratas are the company's fault. They messed up around the line somewhere. But you can just, there's just a playset of each card they errated on the list. One set for like non-foil for maybe like $30 or something like that. One set foil for like $45, $50. Even at less prices than that. But that way you could be like, am I still playing these errated cards? Let me go on the site, order my playsets, and be done with it. Because when it comes in packs, like, I'm not going to front. I don't want random chance. Like, I need this new brainwashed card that got errated for some reason. I don't want to have to try to pull an errated card from a list of other errated cards. I also don't want an errated card to be worth more because barely anybody's been pulling it and there's only a few on the market. I would just like, since it's their fault, since they had an oversight in wording, text, or just didn't test the card before it came out, I would very much so like it if I could just go and be like, I'm going to pull the trigger. I'm playing these cards. I'm playing enough of these cards to justify this purchase. I'm getting all the errata cards, and give them a choice of foil, non-foil, so that you could choose how much you're paying and if you want to go for that bling or not. Because that's another thing about erratas. If this card was a sexy ass foil, and all of a sudden I'm playing an ugly, worse card of it, dog, I'm turned off. PP soft. Like, let me at least get a foil version of my errata if I want it.
I'm gonna bounce off of that. With that will. And we saw this with Mythic Booster. The LCSing is getting hit hard. So they would have to do some, and for people that don't like acronyms, local car shops. They are hurting a lot from Mythic Booster. The price tag on that was $90. I seen some go for $45 on TCG Player. $50 on TCG Player. If you print a set with erratas and you sell it to, like, you make it so that stores can sell it, that's not going to happen because you're going to have all these players opening packs and packs and packs and just reselling them for dirt cheap. And nobody's going to go to a store. And if we don't have stores that sell the product, we don't have tournaments. And if we don't have tournaments, we don't have access to TPs. So it's a trickling effect that needs to be well balanced. I will be all down if it's sold directly by Bandai and no one else, kind of thing. So that way the price is stable, or, you know, it doesn't affect the local shops as much. I know for a fact that in California, where I'm from, the Mythic Booster at the shop is $95.95 plus taxes. Who wants to rip a Mythic Booster and get shafted with nothing good?
Come on, striving for
Bro.
the best. You don't want
So-
10 of those?
So as a store who pre-ordered Mythic Booster like almost a year ago when it first came out, that was a huge mistake on Bandai's part logistically and with the distribution, because the initial price when we pre-ordered had the boxes marked at a much lower price for wholesale, and then so we're having to sell them for 95 because wholesale cost for each box is 75 plus shipping. And so all PPG and all these other stores, before we knew this price increase, were posting boxes for sale at 50, you know, at wholesale prices just to make a slight profit on. And then we got hit by this fairly recent, you know, like very short before the set release of like, oh no, the price went up significantly. So the stores couldn't sell them for the price that they were going for online because they would literally be losing money. So I feel like Mythic Booster was definitely handled poorly from the logistics side. So I don't think we've ever had anything like that happen before, though, for this card game.
I think the gift box coming out too was
I like
really
that.
bad.
They did once with I think it was set 8, set 7, because set 7 Destroyer Kings, right?
Set 6
Set
is
six.
short.
Set 6.
Yeah,
7's Assault.
Set 6 was short printed, and then the set after was overprinted.
7.
7 was like one of the most sold though, right? Because that was like the
well,
first
that happened
multicolor.
on the
everyone
Draft
wanted.
draft spot. All the draft boxes were really expensive, and then they were like, "Oh, here's the World Tournament one," so everyone like overbought on that, and then they're like, it was like a immediately devalued set.
It's actually
So-
kind of funny because I think the very first time pricing for weird things, and distribution always has some sort of weird angle in it, but I remember that when we had set 3, you could pull like you could pull SRs and they'd still be worth like $20 off rip. Kale was like a solid 40. You had Jirens at like 20s to 30s. Ultra Instinct Goku's was like a solid 30. You had a lot of good cards like that. But the boxes were also kind of hard to find. And the moment set 4 came out, Colossal Warfare, I think it was,
Yeah,
those prices were normal for the pre-release. They were on pre-release hype, and they were normal for about a week and a half, 2 weeks after pre-release. The moment that set dropped, things just crashed, and I was like, "What the hell is going on?" And then I noticed something that I've never seen with this game before. We had all bought boxes on release night, and there were still cases left in the store. Like every store had Colossal Warfare. There was no short printage. There was nothing. Like Bandai listened when we were like, "Yo, we can't find none of these cards nowhere." And Colossal Warfare got like overprinted. Well, maybe not even overprinted. Maybe it just was printed well because the previous sets we were losing. We couldn't find the crafts anymore. Once they sold out, they sold out. But these like triple flashes and SR going for $4. Like and it was a used SR. It was great. And it was just like $4.
There's one thing you're forgetting in between there. What's between set 3 and set 4?
TOP.
One of them,
Expansion
one
packs.
of the TOP, the
TOP.
most sought after thing, which was you were lucky if you got a box. I was lucky enough to get a box of TOP at the time, but that was the first like themed booster, and there's like, okay, it's gonna be limited print, whatever, and they didn't lie because it was really limited print, and everyone saw was Victory Strike, which set the price for the other Victory Strike basically, because of how sought after it was, because how limited the boxes were, and SCR ratios and everything else was different at the time. But yeah, that, and then set 4, people are just like, what the hell? I didn't get the last 2 sets or whatever. And then it's like, okay, here. And exactly like you said, it crashed like crazy.
Yeah.
Have
You guys remember when TOP came out?
for
Ah.
16?
And
They just
Have y'all seen the pre-order prices for this set?
No.
They're on cock and balls. They're
Yeah.
literally on cock and balls.
I was like $75 for an SPR. All SPR. I was
Yeah.
like, yeah, we know those are gonna drop when it set releases. There's no reason to unless you all the SCRs are $400 plus. I'm like, no, I'm good.
Even the non-for leaders are like $5 each.
Yeah.
It is on cock and balls. Like, watch it be something we don't know about. Like, though, like watch like right before,
Yeah.
dude, the ship shipping it over to America, half its stock falls into the ocean again. It actually
my
becomes-
I guarantee you, though, PPG is a big offender trying to make up for its loss on Mythic Booster.
PPG is just a big offender almost all the way around.
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
not going to talk about
Yeah.
that.
They don't even know what Canada is, so that's the best part. That was the best thing we had on there
What
with
is
them.
Canada, actually?
Yeah.
There's Dragon
Oh.
Ball events in Canada.
I got a lot of homies
Yeah.
from Canada. That's where Canada houses the TCG homies. I believe that's what I learned back in 6th grade. It's this place above America that houses a select few of my future TCG homies. And I can never see them because they have to go through like border control and like pay like $2,000 to come to an event in America. So
Yeah. Yeah, you got that head. That was fucking hit the nail right on the head.
Forget me in border control. Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would pay
Not
that to
coming
go
out.
to Dragon Ball Fest.
Yeah.
Oh man, but it sucks too in Canada too, because like they're like, oh yeah, the set's gonna come out this date in the US, and we're like, okay, when are we getting to Canada? Oh, like a month later. What? Why?
You guys got like 1 or 2 sets before us.
When?
they didn't matter enough, clearly.
No, they didn't.
don't get
Bro.
me started in Latin America, okay? Don't
Wait,
even
You're in
get me started.
California. Come on.
Borders are checking the shipments to make sure they have no traces of COVID. It just takes a month later. Like, there's a lot of boxes to check. They've got to open up each pack to make sure it doesn't have COVID and then reseal it. That's a lot of time.
Yeah,
that's why your
true.
stuff gets there so late.
That's why the
Well,
SCRs
plus
have
the
been so
Canadian
weird.
boxes. They replaced the box toppers in the Canadian boxes with like a maple syrup packet.
I don't hate it. I
That's-
don't hate it. I'll roll with it.
That's
Why?
that's completely true. I can
It-
completely
they,
agree.
you know. So
Dude,
the last
y'all
thing,
mad. Oh my gosh. I'm
the last
sorry.
thing I want to say about the ban list, is for black. I think they're going to hit the Goku that punishes for counter cards to
True
1.
Fighting Spirit.
Yeah, True Fighting
That shouldn't be
Spirit.
touched. That shouldn't be touched.
Hey there,
First-
element
yeah.
going in, please. For the love of God, don't.
I really don't agree, man.
It's kind of weird. I'm not gonna front. Actually, what else are you gonna say? I wanna respond after you finish what you think is gonna hit in black.
So, aside from that, I don't really think they need to hit anything else in black, is other than that, just that one card. And I feel like if they, like I'd mentioned before, if they kind of give red a bit more power and make it more prominent in the color, then it balances the rest of black out. I just feel like being able to have, without that Goku having unique, and being able to just play 3 or 4 of them and be like, oh, you want to counter anything? You're warping, that many cards from your hand. I feel like it is probably the worst part of it, of black. So,
Okay.
So, yeah.
Go, Element, go.
Yeah, it triggered.
Holding myself too.
I have to disagree, Chris. It's
okay.
it's a 5,000 power card. 1 cost. There's no barrier, nothing. It's such an easy card to get rid of from the board, and it stabilizes the thing that other decks do very degenerately. And it sets a pace. Like, none of the true fighting should be touched. If you want to lower it to 3 or 2, like sure, but it shouldn't be removed from the black arsenal.
Oh no, I said it should be limited, just limited to 1. Personally,
Why not just
That's-
make it unique?
All right.
yeah.
I'm in both of your camps to a degree. On one end, design wise, True Fighting Spirit makes sense. Because Black, from a design standpoint, Black has never had the best defenses. And in this game, there are 2 types of hand control, and that's hand control through effect and offensive pressure. After a certain point, when your opponent is no longer trying to take life, every valid swing that gets through the negate phase is essentially hand control. They have to expend hand to not die. Black doesn't have a lot of defenses, but because of its pressure, that's its form of hand control. You are going to have to be just dropping cards from your hand to not fall to their onslaught. However, defending has gotten easier and easier for decks, and that has come through negates. The negate blockers, the negate floodgates like Nimbus and Dormant, things like that. And so the True Fighting Spirits are Black's way of being like, you don't have a lot of defense, but on top of the pressure that you're giving, the pressure that we have hindered more by having all these defensive cards come into the format, some of them free, some of them not, we are giving you a card that's going to further tax your opponent while you're pressuring. It's doubling down on that offensive pressure hand control, because that combo power would have been used to beat your already less defensive self down into the ground. Where I start to lean into Chris's camp for is the fact that Black is getting better and better defensive cards as sets go on. We just got our blocker negate. Supreme Kai is a monstrous negate for 1. It's a 2 for 1. And like, we don't have a lot of 2 for 1s in Black. You literally negate and then on top of that warp something else. That's wonderful. But because we are getting more and more defense, True Fighting Spirit can sometimes just be more toxic than it at one point was a necessity. Like when it first got released, it felt so great because I could look at Blue's 15, 16 cards in hand, stick a True Fighting Spirit on my first turn, and on my second turn follow it up with a Demagogue and be like, you can Heroic Prospect me, but you're going to neg 4. Like,
Yeah.
you're going to neg 4. You can Topo me, but you're going to neg 4. If you're going to Floodgate me out, you are going to pay for it when I swing with this Demagogue with a True Fighting Spirit on board. And then back then, again, you neg 4 your opponent, and that's 4 less cards they had to hurt you next turn. But now, with Black having more ways to defend itself and its aggressive power heightened further than what it was back then, True Fighting Spirit may be a little bit too much on top of that. And that's where I do fall on Chris's thing. It was a necessity when it came out, and I see why it fits into Black's scheme. But where we are in the game right now, it is stupid that I can have an established board, look you dead in the face and go, how bad do you want to stay alive? Tap 3, play 3 True Fighting Spirits, and turn my crap sideways, knowing you're about to pay if you try to Floodgate me.
Yeah. Especially within the strongest archetype being Gogeta and having cards like Marvelous Might that can just be like, oh, I get to play that and the Vegeta, and it's like, oh, you have D-Magic? Okay, well, you're going to warp your entire hand just to negate 1 attack. And I get free 30k bodies. So.
Entire hand?
That's true. What I like what you mentioned there, that now it's seeming more as a problem, because I think what they should do with Black, it seemed like they were starting out with this whole unison block with Black, was making it a glass cannon. And I think if it wants to be the aggro color, it should be a true aggro color glass cannon. The defense really low on it, have True Fighting Spirit and stuff that it's like, okay, this makes me more oppressive, so it makes you negate less or think about your negates, and if I don't win in this certain situation, I'm putting myself at a disadvantage instead of being able to sit on that poutine combo or sit on that pull a life, play a blocker, or the free negate with the Shadow Dragon, whatever the hell, negative energy, that pop something to the warp 15k or less, ignoring barrier. So that's where you're like, now it's starting to become
Yeah.
more aggressive with this new trunk stuff, but also more defensive, where you're just like, okay, yeah, sure, whatever, you wanna play like that, I'm just gonna sit back for a second and watch you fuck up.
And the thing is like with the already the limit on the Goku is it's only in a Black Saiyan only leader. So you don't play it in Trunks. You don't play aside from SS4 Bardock, the strongest black deck in the game is really the only deck that also utilizes it to its most potential. So I mean, by hitting it, you're not really hitting black as a whole. You're hitting like two decks. And SS4 Bardock just needs more stuff anyway, like to be better. Which at least they're already giving us cards. I don't think that, because I know that that's part of your bias, Alejandro, because that's like your pet deck. But I feel like they could give tools like that to the deck specifically, and then hit. I don't know. They should hit the Goku specifically because it hurts Gogeta's mid range ability.
Just to let you know, and unfortunately, unlike a lot of these cards, it's not Black Sand only. It's just Black Sand.
Yeah, that's
So
what
a
I
lot
thought.
of these decks are abusing it. Like I play it in Trunks because why not? Like I'm dual attacking so often. Like repulse me, feel something. So
It's not Black Saiyan only.
No, it's
It
just
is
Black
Black
Sand.
Saiyan.
It's just Black
Black
Saiyan.
Sand. It is worse than what you were talking about. It is more cancerous than what
okay.
you.
Yeah.
Like, if anything, it
you're
doubles
right,
down on your point.
Because Vijek's played it. I guess when I was thinking of the decks, they're just not saying it all. So yeah, that's right.
Yep,
But
like-
when you think about that, right? When you think, okay, Through Fire and Spirit might be a little bit overtuned for the toolbox that Black has, but take that card away, and what's gonna happen versus Yellow?
The same thing that kind of happens versus Yellow now. They just have more cards in hand. I'm not going to front with you. Like, this is a True Fighting Spirit does not end Yellow, but it does help Yellow. But the weirdest, it's really rough for me because we're at a point where when a Yellow player is at peak processing, you swing on them with True Fighting Spirits on board, and they will straight up be like, well, Black Kamehameha, tap those two bitches, go up 10k, combo Vanilla, draw a card. Oh yeah, Black Kamehameha drew a card too. So once again, we're sitting at
I was
no
gonna
minus.
say, you forgot about that part. What are you
I was
talking
like,
about?
they broke even. Tap those two, draw one to replace. Then I'm going to my bad. Let me give it.
You gotta,
the
yeah,
true
you
Yellow
gotta
special.
power first. You
Power of a
only got
Super
one
Saiyan,
energy here.
Tap that. Power of a Super Saiyan, tap that. Black Kamehameha, tap both your True Fighting Spirits, draw a card, another card, and then I'm just going to Vanilla, draw a third card. There's no minus in the hand, and the first thing that's happening is they are going to either swing into one of your black cards or one of your tapped True Fightings, or they're going to play Turles and blow up one, draw one, and then still leader swing and draw into your like True Fighting Spirit isn't really going to detriment Yellow if Yellow is playing Yellow correctly all the time. Like Black Kamehameha is ignorant. Like it's actually ignorant. Why am I tapping two things and going up 10k?
And
Why is
again, we go back to the blue yellow, right? You have that Samasu Indestructible. It's 5k. You played it. You draw one. If you don't bounce something to their hand, you're tapping something, and those True Fighting Spirits are already tapped. You know, like you can swing with a 5k unison and kill them. Like they're really easy to get rid of. The only thing is that the person has to commit to getting rid of them, and that's what balances out that's my counterpoint to why it shouldn't be removed from the black toolbox, because it stabilizes a lot of the matchups.
So
Unrelenting Assault Trunk, the trunks that comes out free to hand if he gets removed from warp.
I like him. He's a cute pet card. Like he's one of the cards that he may have not have withstood the test of time, but he's being seen use. Like he's seen use. He was on the reserves, and they were like, "Are you ready to see some action?" He was like, "Aye, aye, Captain," and he got brought back in. Like
Right.
I think that card's cute. I was just
I mean,
like,
yeah, I
saying,
don't-
huh?
I think it only feels bad when they just get lucky and warp 3 of them, and you're just like, oh, I just got 3 cards in my hand. I don't think as like a card he's a problem. I feel like if Gogeta was weaker as a deck, he's just more utility for the deck, personally.
I feel with regards to the True Fighting Spirit, like every color but blue can honestly handle it really well. In all honesty, like even green, you're like, okay, sure, I get to warp cards in it. Let me just pop dormant. Yeah, they're all out of here. Get the fuck out. Like I don't give a shit.
Green.
Even
Well, you
green, like
still-
green
you
is
still
like,
lost-
whoa, right?
Where is green?
So
like-
imagine this though. Imagine though that they played, and this is in Gogeta because it's the premier deck that uses it. They go Marvelous Might, play True Fighting, tap 1 for True Fighting, and then play 1 more because they can on
Yeah.
turn 3. You still dormant potential. You just lost 5 cards in your hand to get rid of 2 of them.
Sure, and I understand that, but that's like sequencing and all that at that point, right? Like I'm not going to sacrifice 5 to deal with it for using dormant. But what I'm saying though is like every color but blue can deal with it in some way or another. Even like and this is like I'm gonna date myself here, but there's like a card in green, this 1-drop Vegeta from like set 6, where it's literally play this card, kill all your opponent's battle cards 1 or less.
1-drop.
That's
Yep.
literally what it.
That
Literally
set
a 1
6,
drop. Like
it's the one where he's like this, and
Yeah.
it's a 1-drop, and it came out set 6. It's Vegeta BR, and that's
but I
really
mean,
all
I
it
don't know why
does.
I'd run it. You know, I don't know why I decided to run it. But
Yeah.
you know, I guess pre-sideboarding, you know, like okay, I'll just put it in and be like, all right, whatever. But I don't know.
See, my argument versus this is once again, after making content for a while, after playing this game since release, I tend to try to look at things not from like a where we are now, but also where we could go
Mhm.
kind of deal. And if a card, like I definitely get your argument on every color can kind of deal with it, like you just have to commit a little bit. But my thing is, if a card is good when it's used in lots of ways, but is toxic when used most efficiently, I'm still going to look at it being toxic and evaluate from there down. The card is just decent and it does what it's supposed to do. But when you are at a certain level of playing, there are some really disgusting situations that you can just put your opponent in. I can have 1 and just leave it on the field and hold 2 in hand in Trunks, knowing that it's going to tax you a little bit. But the turn where I'm like, okay, I have a thwarting on the field, I have an SR Trunks, I'm about to play another SR Trunks. Cool. I have 5 energy, and I'm only going to use 4 of them this turn. Because I'm going to play a Trunks SR and an Overwhelm and these 2 Fighting Spirits before anything else. Fighting Spirit, you can't respond. Fighting Spirit, you can't respond. Overwhelm, that's a deflect. I am now free to do whatever I want, and the moment you try to touch something, you're going to get hurt for it. But that's only going to stop 1 attack, generally, your negates. So I'm going to rip 3 cards out of your hand, plus the negate. If the negate had an additional cost, that's going to happen. And then I'm going to be able to swing again, and you're just that many cards down. You're just 4 cards down. And so that's kind of the way I kind of look at it. It does what it's supposed to do. It's actually just like Sensu Bean for me in the sense that it does what it's supposed to do. But whenever it's snapped, whenever it has the chance to be broken, it's broken. And that's kind of how I look at it being dangerous for the format. Because, yeah, lots of cards are going to feel just decent when they're played in decent times, but it's really just when the interactions are gross that you start really looking at a card. It's not Power of a Super Saiyan feels strong. The Power of Super Saiyan feels stronger when it's backed by cards that need extra cards to be played, and you just put 1 for free in the graveyard and drew. Power of a Super Saiyan feels immediately stronger when it just triggered Bergamo for free, and then you play. Like, True Fighting Spirit's just one of those cards to me, and it shouldn't be a Goku too. Like, that's another problem. It seemed like in Gogeta, it seamlessly slides into your best slot for it. It does all of this. It can be used unfairly, and it's a Goku, so you never really miss with it. And I do think it's just very, very strong. And when you were saying that blue is the only color that can't deal with it well, because blue essentially right now has to like a rival to get rid of a 1-drop, and that feels terrible.
Yeah.
it's like it actually is a destructively disgusting card versus blue. Blue has to really go out of their way to try to get rid of it. And meanwhile, you're just hammering blue. Blue doesn't necessarily have the best combo power, so anytime an attack goes through, you're ripping cards out of their hand. When they do defend with a negate, you rip cards out of their hand. Red and green have the best ways of getting rid of it, for sure. But it's just kind of like, it's one of those cards where if black is already one of the best decks in the format, it doesn't need a card that can be as oppressive as that card in multiple instances, in my opinion.
That makes sense. What if, like, limiting is one thing, but like, what if they just make it unique?
I
mean,
think that'd be fine too. Yeah.
If they made that card unique, I would have to actually think hard about playing it outside of Gogeta Zeno, because
Yeah.
Because that's true. Because that at least Gogeta Zeno would still function basically the exact same, right? Because you still have 4 copies that you're warping from the top of your deck, and you still have those slots that are good. And worst case scenario, you're playing 1 because it's unique, but you have a stockpile in hand if they get rid of it, right? That's the same thing with that 1-drop Gohan from Set 14, where it's unique, but as soon as you get rid of 1, most people are going to have at least another one in hand for the next turn. But you're a turn free from that true fighting spirit, right? So that wouldn't be a horrible way.
Because I'm not for like destroying archetypes. I'm like I agree. Like balance needs to happen in certain areas. Like I do agree. Like true fighting, like especially if you're playing blue and you see that shit on your board, it's like yeah, this is hell. You make it unique, it's a little more fair. You're not killing Gogeta Zeno. You're not killing like a card that Trunks can use or other like Saiyan based like Zeno decks can use. Like that. It's never good to just entirely murder an archetype just because fuck this archetype, right? It should be more fair.
But again,
Alternatively, I'm happy if they want to give us Galactic Buster back to be uneroded.
No, it's not that.
But again, we're looking at this one card through the lens of in Gogeta Zeno, this card is beyond busted. Right.
Right.
I feel like
that's the problem though, is like especially because of it showing at Nats and Worlds, Bandai immediately is looking with that scope of okay, these are the decks that overall are better than everything else. So how do we hit these decks specifically? And with Gogeta Zeno, its most toxic interaction as being an oppressive deck is abusing multiple Goku true fightings. And when they look at all the good yellow cards, they're looking at it in the scope of okay, well, why are these yellow good stuff overpowered in Icarus? They're not going to be like, well, how is it in all these other yellow decks?
True Fighting Spirit, I think, is actually just almost oppressive in any place it can be. Like, to be honest, it's a good piece for Gogeta Zeno. I think it's more oppressive in a black deck that can see cards more consistently than Gogeta Zeno. Because in Trunks, the amount of times I've been able to hold deuces in hand, like establish 1, establish another, and just hold 2 in hand in case you wipe mine for the turn I know I'm going to play 2 and then continue my turn, is almost astounding. Like, I actually love... In Gogeta Zeno, it's just a really, really good card. In a deck like Trunks, where you're filtering so much, I actually just love it as, like, insurance. Be like, am I about to go hard this turn? I'm going to play 2 right here. Go in for it. And for that one, I'm not really looking at it from a Gogeta Zeno standpoint. I'm looking at it from, like I said, it can be toxic sometimes. And they are definitely not going to stop making black sand leaders. That's just not going to happen. It's the moment you put a sand tag on something, you know it's going to happen at some point. It's just a win. And what if we get a deck that's stronger than Gogeta Zeno? A deck that's stronger than Trunks? A deck that has more draw than both of them? God forbid, a deck that cheats in 1-drops. Like, it's just one of those cards where it will never not be a good effect. It'll always be great when you can put multiples on board and press your opponent. And in Black's playstyle of being aggression heavy, it's just sickening because you're already going to have lots of combo power or press, and you're going to be negging people for just trying to defend themselves. It's great in Gogeta Zeno. I think it's just a card that it's just waiting to feel bad.
By the way, Bandai, if you're watching, this is like a skit. We're joking. Like, this is not. We're not talking seriously here, guys.
If they're watching, this is getting taken down.
It's a prank. It's a prank. It's a prank. It's a prank, bro.
Yeah,
It's a prank.
I brought Chris into this chat specifically so Bandai would watch it, so that way they would know we were saying, "Yo, Free Fighting's got to go."
Joke's on you. All my thoughts are already in a chat with the rep, and I be like, very, very vocal about these things.
So, yep, that's pretty much my opinions. I gotta head out here in a minute, but
Oh, I think
I
we all
wasn't sure
do.
if
We've
they were
been
gonna-
we've been cranking this for
Yeah.
almost 2.5 hours. This I told you, banlist talk goes on forever because there's so many loopholes that we can go down and just so much debate. Like Alejandro's already just loading up his every card that Chris has ever played, so to put it on the ban list, and he's just like, well, you want to put that on the ban list? How about this?
Actually, like
It's
this.
Street Fighter Spirit goes.
we're
Android
gonna
16,
we're
let's
gonna
ban
ban
that.
SS4 Vegeta. That's what we're gonna ban.
Actually,
Let that card go. Let that card go and see if anything happens.
right.
Wait, we got some SS4 fans in the chat. We got some SS4 fans in the. Look.
You know what? Chris actually gated me from top 8 with that stupid deck.
Look, all I'm gonna say here is that when that deck got released, I remember making a video on it. I saw the SR. I was like, this card is snapped, and it only really gets hurt by other blue decks with God Sealing. This is amazing. I love everything about this. I love this deck. I can't wait to test it. I was hyping it up in the video. I got on Untap, and my homie literally was like, oh, you're playing SS4? Cool. 1-drop Broly, ball, 30k blocker. And I went, this is turn 1, mind you. I'm like, there is not a
Yeah.
damn thing I can do to this. And I haven't touched the deck since. So then we move forward, literally almost a year to Gen Con. And I'm sitting here going, wow, SS4 is actually a deck again. People are really running this stuff. And I faced one in like round 5 of Swiss. And I know the dude was having a good day, or maybe just had a bad matchup, because I think day 2 I saw him with SS4 at like top table. So good on you, dude. I forgot your name. I apologize. But like, red was just like the kryptonite for it. Like, it still had blue's inability to really deal with divine presence, but like, he literally swung me with his awakened leader, and I was like, yeah, we're gonna tap 1 for King Vegeta's imposing presence. And he was like, I untap, and I'm just like, cool. Like, please swing again for your leader to go down to 0. And then in game 2, I was like, the hell, if this third King Vegeta's isn't coming in, and I don't know what else. And it just felt so like, oh. And so I admit, because of me getting smacked by 30k blocker and then me absolutely steamrolling the deck with Gohan, I just felt like I've never given SS4 even like an iota of respect. And that's on me. Not because the deck isn't good, but that's just, it's my personal experience. I refuse to pay it respect with 3 Cs. Not even a single C. No respect.
Damn, that's serious.
Karl, I know you were about to say
Okay,
something.
They got me 3 tops, so I'll take it.
yeah, you did.
Karl,
The deck's so impressive.
Oh man, my this actually happened this last weekend. We were talking about SS4. My one buddy, he just made it for the first time. He was so hyped to play it. And my other friend, he was playing the the Green Star Broly. He was doing like the Wang pose build. Fucking the guy is playing SS4. He tries to swing. He's like, "Oh, you're trying to swing? Yeah. 18 super combo passes. Tries to swing again. Yeah, I'm playing Broly. I'm just dump my hand and I swing and I draw my hand back. Oh yeah, you never ramped once.
Rough.
It's like auto lose. Oh, you're trying to combo? Sorry, Bardock Unison. Have a good day, sir.
Damn.
Ultra Instinct Kamehameha. I'm like, damn, what am I supposed to wait? Combo vanilla, draw, spirit boost, go up another 4K. Okay, challenger, draw. And what are you at? All right, one more 5K. And they're just like,
It's unfortunate.
You gotta
why
be
you
able to
combo? I mean, to be honest, it's 100% a matchup thing. One was a 30k blocker, one was a red deck that happened to combo its ass off and cantrip on most of its combos. So it was matchup dependent. I just am not going to pretend like I'm going to be told any
You gotta know how
different.
to play against it as well. It's matchup and how to play against it.
Well, it's really player dependent, and I think a big thing in this game, especially with BANLIST and whatnot, and like top rep decks, it's more like the top players. They like Marcel can take whatever deck. He'll have his Champa and Mira in it, and he'll still top with it
Just
because
look at
he's just a good player. And I feel like all these good players are like, well, we're gonna take this one deck and make it good. It doesn't necessarily make the deck broken. It's just like when you have enough good players playing it, it definitely increases that perceived value of it being a good deck. But like Dark Broly, for example, you had so many people playing it from the starter deck that were scrubbing out and losing because they just weren't as good of a player as the people who are just really good players playing it, if that makes sense.
I mean, I do kind of feel that. People thought they could just sleeve up Dark Broly and it would be like Mongo, Gorilla Time. And it was until you faced a person that knew how to play against Dark Broly or you fought a Dark Broly mirror. From release, though, Dark Broly was kind of cheeks because I've been playing it since it came out the pack. It just didn't have enough cards and it felt clunky at times. But I did love the point where people are like, I play Dark Broly and I win. And it's just like, oh, you got prospected 3 turns in a row and didn't know how to hold your cookies? Oh, they sided in Vegeta, Unison of Fury and you didn't know how to make a move? Oh, you faced another Dark Broly deck and got mollywop? Jeez, it's not as easy as you thought, though, is it? Like, is it? And felt good.
Or super hard aggro.
Super hard aggro is rough on game 1, but I feel like I don't know. Protector of the People is absolutely snapped. Like I had 4 in my side deck for most of my time playing Dark Broly because I would just open it and be like, I'm going to survive. And it just felt so nice. Just so good. Dark Broly died before he could see a blocker negate.
I'm going to let you guys go to bed. I'm going to head off here. Thanks for the chat.
Yeah.
Perfect. Yeah, I'll
Okay,
get any final thoughts before I'll get Karl to wrap up here. I know he's been trying to speak there and then starts nodding off to sleep because it's fucking 1 a.m. over here and I know everyone's got work or school in the morning.
Yeah,
I got it.
6.
Give me Roshi back. Thank you. That's it.
Roshi back. I respect that. I got
Green
2
Roshi?
final thoughts.
Go ahead.
Yeah, Green Roshi.
Fucking love that Green Roshi. 2 final thoughts. First final thought. In addition, like that whole talk with like true fighting, I do think that SS3 thwarting should not get banned. I don't think it should get limited, but I do feel like the union ability should at least have a clause like the SR where it's like if your opponent has 2 or more energy, or if you have 2 or more energy. I don't think it's very healthy to have a 25k double strike warp on swing available turn
100%.
Or just
that's the only thing there. Don't limit it. Don't just minor errata. Make it so you can play turn 2. Don't make it turn 1. Like
That happened to me today.
Just put the union class limit 1. So you can only fuse a thwarting once a turn.
Yeah, I guess you could do that too. But
then again, that's not as much a problem anymore, right? Belmod doesn't exist, so that was the big problem where people play 3 in a fucking turn.
Well, if you union fusion limit 1.
Oh, union fusion like limit 1. Okay. That's kind of rough.
Overwhelm it out. I don't know, like, cause
True.
What is it called? My game I had today, he had brought out turn 1 Gogeta thwarting, turn 1, and then my turn happened. I couldn't get rid of it my turn 1 because I'm running Sin. So I just played defensively, summoned my 1-drop, and let him hit me and hazed it. But guess what came right after that? He brought out the 30k, grabbed him right back, and then played him. So limit 1 won't change that.
Yeah.
You know
the only reason why I feel like if they don't ban Power of Super Saiyan, I feel like limit 2s could work for thwarting the Dark Empire as well as Power of Super Saiyan, is because these cards are very, very strong, but at 4, they're almost throwaways. Like, and when cards are that strong, I don't like the ability for somebody to just see it on turn 1, be able to make it on turn 1, and play it on turn 1 because they know it's that strong. I need a card that's that strong and easy to access to be, like I said before, a trigger pool. You need to look at the field, go, I want to warp that, I want to apply pressure. This is the time where I play one of my 2 thwarting the Dark Empires. Not I have it, might as well play it because I got 3 more in deck and I'll be able to reach it even if they get warped. Like, that's the only reason why I feel like a limit 2 on that card is kind of worth it, because right now for 1 energy, no other restrictions than being able to make it. It's just, it's too flippant. Like, it just comes out and just starts doing damage. And like he said, like, turn 1 can sometimes be way too much on the board for you to get rid of on turn 1. Like, they're playing a turn 1 card, and granted, most of these like Realm of Gods cards are kind of trying to destroy cards that are overcosted on earlier turns, but it's still, you're seeing a card to answer their card when we don't even have to have a card like this dropping on turn 1.
Honestly, the other thing they could do, because I did this today, I was playing Supreme Kai, and I thwarting turn like with 1 energy. I burst 3, drew 1. I had 1 in hand, burst 1 Goku, 1 Vegeta. I played my Revive Ravager. I swung for 15k crit, swung with my leader, and then I thwarting. And the fact that I can do that in Kai is stupid. Especially when Kai can awaken after turn 1 if you sequence properly, right? And the fact that that card has no real limits, the other thing they could do is, if you have 2 Gokus and 2 Vegetas in your warp, and you have 2 energy, like, make it a little more restricted so people cannot do it turn 1 or turn 2 that consistently and that easy.
Yep.
And I only run 2 of them in my deck. I don't depend on that card.
Yeah. I don't know. That one's a tough one. That one's always going to be a controversy.
Yeah.
My other thought, this is more related for you, Chris, since you said you played Force of Will. What are your thoughts on Turbo Gwyver Reflect Refrain back in the day?
Look, I'm trying to think of when I played, because that was a long time ago. And
Baja
I
Blast?
think when I played, what was that promo Piper card?
Oh my god, Hamlin's Pied Piper? Yeah, you were playing Grim Cluster then?
That was the sauce. That was the sauce. But that was long ago. I think that was actually fairly early in the game too.
Yeah,
like,
that was Grim Cluster.
Yeah, that was that was the sauce. That was what I was playing.
Those were fun times. Hell yeah. That's all I got.
I'm surprised you didn't flex your fistful of ass then.
Oh, you want me to bring out the 8 cards, the 2 playsets of Booty Zero?
Hey,
The Power 9.
But I guess Karl, what were you gonna bring up there right before?
Well, I was just saying that we should like keep doing maybe a BANLIST series, because we can still talk a lot about this like for a few episodes, because hell we know when that BANLIST gonna drop, or is it gonna drop, because of the BO1 things and everything with the sighting at first round. So we can keep going on.
Oh, this is gonna be forever.
It's gonna drop. It's gonna drop because UI Goku is coming out next set, and UI Goku is not a factor if they don't touch yellow. Therefore, by logic of them needing to suck off UI every time it shows up in a set, they will be curving all opposition to UI before UI makes its descent. It's just gonna happen.
You heard it here first. If anybody, which 0 people are going to get to the end of this long-ass video. But so right now is where you admit murders. So if anybody murdered anybody, this is the time to get it off your chest. I know Alejandro literally murdered Chris. That's why he got off.
Look, man, I lived in Iraq. Don't talk to me about murders.
It meant murder to that dude at Gen Con that thought you were the only person in the room playing U7 Gohan, and they caught the swiftest from me. I apologize. And I apologize to your family too, because that's what it was. It was what it was.
Hey. But yeah, while we're closing out here, I'll give you another chance to just fucking tell the people what's up. What's next in the life of Uni X DBS? What's the freshness, and where can they find you? Because they've already forgotten for the 2.5 hours that they've been watching this, and their brain has gone out the fucking window. And Carl's even just like, for the love of God, he's still fucking talking. I just want to go to bed.
Look, it's 2020 fucking 2. If you want 10-minute videos, go find them. Guarantee they don't have the meat and bones and potatoes that this video had. You can watch a chunk of this video driving to work. You can watch another chunk on your lunch break. You can watch another chunk at the gym in your headphones. You watch another chunk before you go to sleep. This is what long content is made for, all right? You can dive into so many things. You gain so much information. There's no way you gain this much amount of information from a 12-minute video. So if you don't like it, if you're one of those Ivan Oligs of the world, look, this ain't for you. But if you want something that you can sink your teeth into, gain perspective, gain knowledge, whether you're a returning player, a veteran who wants to see some other takes, or a new player who just got schooled on a whole bunch of history for this game, stuff like this is the stuff you can put on in the background. It is what it is. As for what's good for Uni X DBS, homie, I'm flying by the seat of my pants. I had a whole lineup set for UW only decks, and then Bandai changed it. Like, I actually complained to Bandai. I was like, were you gonna give me a warning? Like, I had a guy in content. Like, bro, I stayed up till 2 a.m. making this Bojack video, and then I woke up the next morning, and it's scheduled 30 minutes after this post went up that UW format's no longer in existence. And I was like, well, I could have slept. So that sucks. So as for what's coming up next, I don't know. I wasn't even going to upload a video today, and then I was like taking a shower in the morning and just hit me, and I was like, that's a good topic, and I recorded it. So I'll think of something while I'm at work. I'll come home and I'll record it. If you like Dragon Ball phone games, I have a second channel. We're doing stuff on there. I'm going to do like pretty much every other day uploads if I can, unless stuff is really hot. But really, I'm just going to be trying to grind out content about the card game. Don't know what it's about yet. Probably won't until the day of, because Dragon Ball Super is wilding right now. Like, they're making turns faster than I can keep up with. So I'm trying to figure out what to do.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That was amazing. Thanks for coming on, and thanks for also, giving the spotlight to long form content like this, where you just shoot the shit and you can see how far it goes when BANLIST talks are going on, because there's so many varying opinions. Because you're mostly testing everything right now, but as a player, are you strictly like red? Is that your color? Like, when you think, or is it just anything free flow, whatever suits the time?
I really just play stuff and see whether I liked it. I started off, like, this can be quick as hell. I started off as a Vegeta player in set 1. Wanted to go more mid-range because I didn't like how aggro in this game could sometimes peter off and lose when people stabilize, so I went to Blue-Green Soul Striker. Later, like, just played Blue-Red Hirudegarn because it was a good color and blue was extension. Like, I don't really have a color. I played Mass Sand when it came out because I love the idea of being a run it and gun it against Mecha Frieza that took its light down to like 2. Right now, like, I played Red simply because it had Gohan in it.
Yeah.
Like, there was nothing about the play style. I saw a U7 Gohan and I said yes. And that's pretty much it. Like, this next set, I don't even know what I'm playing. It's not going to be blue because I have no desire to play Soul Striker. It could be red because UI Goku can be pretty strong as long as the BANLIST hits. If BANLIST doesn't hit hard enough, it's probably going to be Zamasu. I'm not going to lie to you. I don't have a killer. If I like how the deck plays, I play it.
He's non-culinary.
That's what you got to do sometimes. I'm the same way with that, but that's just because I'm insane and like playing shitty decks. But yeah, I think that's a perfect way to wrap up.
Yeah, on the end part, I just want to shout out to Blue Lotus.
That's what I was gonna do. Perfect. Thank you, Karl.
Watch them out. Like a small local that's working hard to get bigger, and coming up like next Sundays now. Their weekly tournament at 2 p.m. Eastern. They're coming up free now with a max of players of 32 players. So just join up and do some games with your buddy. It's free, so go ahead. And Blue Lotus is an awesome shop. Check out their site with singles and everything. So
it'll be in the description below.
Yeah, we're waiting for you.
Yeah, and then final one, Dragon Ball Super Card Game Canada, who made this overlay, which will be a fucking pain in the ass because of how many times people left and came out here. So this is gonna be another one that's gonna take like fucking 15 hours to render. But and another
I'm so sorry.
another fucking 5 hours of me just cropping. Finally, learning saving cropping sections because haven't had to do weird stuff like this. But
And right at the end where it's almost ending of loading is gonna fuck up.
yeah, that'll just crash.
Don't wish that on it.
Yeah,
Don't
it's
wish
already
that
it
on
happened 3 times with the other one trying to test out this new overlay. So I'm just like, you know what, shit will happen. But yeah, and this is like I said, at the end of the video, this is where Karl will show us his dead bodies that he has. And thanks for stopping by.
Bro, you can't call Karl a murderer when there's like children's toys all behind him and stuff. That ain't the move.
Hey, you know how many times he's either put the children's toys on him or threw them across the room or dunked on a basketball net. This guy, him and children's toys, it's just it wouldn't make sense without. You know what I mean?
Stop that.
Okay, Karl. Jesus Christ. This is
If
the
you
whole.
don't zoom in, if you don't zoom into his particular viewfinder when he's sitting.
Holy
Man, I had a bubble today, but I didn't do it, so I'm gonna keep it for the next video.
Okay, you better fucking remember that. But,
Yeah.
But
and to wrap it up, right? Those people wearing the red color, they shot first. I just want to put that out there.
it's like
look
orange now.
at Josh.
Yeah.
Look at Josh. You shot first, my dude.
There we go.
Hold on.
Gang violence.
All right,
There
and
we go.
and
Super.
yeah, stay super. There we go. Ending it. That was the longest fucking ending.